the great wave of magical technology. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301, Crazy. Just as Yunfan said, they were ambushed not long after they walked. With a thought in his mind, Yunfan released 3 shadow demons, silently and in a state of nothingness, leaving no trace in the darkness, and lurking to the side from 3 directions. Suddenly, it seemed as if there were several more pairs of eyes. In addition to the front, Yunfan could also see the situation behind, and to the left and right of Yunfan clearly. When the shadow demon was in a state of nothingness, it was basically difficult for the naked eye to detect its trace, so the departure and lurking of the shadow demon did not alarm anyone at all. However, Yunfan had already taken control of the overall situation, and almost everyone's every move was under his surveillance. Last time, he almost died at the hands of Hubbard Anderson, so Yunfan would naturally take special care of him. Yunfan specially sent out a shadow demon, and the shadow demon's body was elusive like a ghost, hanging silently behind him. At this moment, Hubbard Anderson had entered another escape passage. On the roofs of the alleys on both sides, 4 people in black clothes and hooded heads followed him silently and were slowly evacuating. Yunfan was shocked. He did not expect these people to escape directly, but Yunfan did not want to let any of them go. It seemed that they hated him to the core for assassinating him this time. If he let these people escape, it might be disadvantageous to him. Fortunately, his shadow demon was not a vegetarian. Hubbard Anderson's every move was under his control. Hubbard Anderson knew his situation. If he took advantage of it, he would have a chance to escape. He did not think that Yunfan and the others knew of his existence. He had learned from the man's narration that he would be free once he got out of the passage. Moreover, as long as he escaped from here, there was an imperial undercover mansion not far in front of the alley. He had already made a plan to walk through this dark alley to find that mansion. After thinking quickly, Yunfan understood that these people could only take action in this passage. Otherwise, once they left the passage, it would be difficult to deal with everyone. Hubbard Anderson and the others seemed to think so. As long as he crossed this passage, Yunfan would have no chance. The space ring was slightly lit, and a long sword was already grasped in Hubbard Anderson's right hand. As long as the 8th level strongman paid attention to some things, there would be absolutely no problem in escaping. Yunfan led everyone forward quickly, and according to the shadow demon's prying, he always paid attention to the enemy's movements. These people are cannon fodder, get rid of them quickly, Yunfan said in a deep voice. Finally, when Yunfan and the others were in the center of the passage, the black shadows seemed to think that they were ready, and the speed of approaching suddenly increased. A slight sound of an arrow breaking through the sky suddenly fell into Yunfan's ears. This arrow was extremely sharp. As soon as it appeared, it shot towards Yunfan's back fiercely, and it was extremely fierce. So fast and so tricky. You don't need to look to know that this arrow came from a professional archer, and the angle was very tricky and ruthless. If it weren't for the shadow demon that Yunfan was monitoring from all angles, he would have observed the opponent's movements clearly. I'm afraid that just this arrow would kill Yunfan on the spot. His footsteps, which were already very fast, suddenly accelerated again, a speed that ordinary people could not see, leaving a shadow behind him. However, Yunfan did not rush forward directly, but retreated to the right. With a whoosh, the arrow passed Yunfan's cheek, leaving a shallow blood mark on her face. Yunfan suddenly turned around again, and a black magic sword shot out from his hand, flying back in the direction of the arrow. In front of the archer, Yunfan's dark magic sword, like a demon, opened its claws and pierced directly into the archer's brain, and the archer died instantly. At this time, another archer also set his target on Yunfan. This archer's archery skills were much better than the previous one, and he actually shot 4 or 5 arrows in an instant. Linked arrows. Yunfan did not dare to neglect it at all, and waved the dagger in his hand. Then, he saw the arrows shattered into pieces, as if the archer had already expected that his sword girl would not be able to hurt Yunfan. He pulled his bowstring again, and a plum blossom shaped like a Chinese character seemed to be waiting for Ji Yunfan to drill into it subconsciously. Unfortunately, Ji Yunfan noticed it earlier and dodged it. At the same time, the top of his head suddenly became bright, and a sea of fire suddenly formed, covering Ji Yunfan below. Following closely behind were two agile men in black, holding long swords in an instant, and flew down from Ji Yunfan's side. Ji Yunfan could see the fighting spirit clearly under the illumination of the sea of fire. At this moment, Ji Yunfan was very upset. How could she not see that these men in black were targeting her? A hint of madness flashed across Ji Yunfan's face, and then he gritted his teeth and accelerated suddenly. Ji Yunfan's speed soared instantly, and he suddenly circled from the right side, and then avoided the attack of the two men in black. He turned around directly, like a swallow returning to its nest, and the shadow dagger in his hand deftly stabbed one of the shadow men, and then flew away. Ji Yunfan had just left the place when the sea of fire crashed down, and the place where he had stood before was full of sparks. For some reason, he had a very strong feeling that these flames might not pose any threat to him, but he didn't want to try. Putting himself in danger was not his goal. No matter how they imagined, they didn't expect Ji Yunfan to avoid their attacks in this way, and took one of them away. The contracted shadow demon has been lost on the mainland for a long time, so they did not expect Ji Yunfan to be able to map their every move in his mind through the shadow demon. They originally thought that the attack was absolutely unexpected, but in fact, Ji Yunfan had already seen it, and even analyzed their attack trajectory with his brain like a computer. It is absolutely a disaster to let this kid live. Even if we die, we must drag him down with us. At this time, a vicious voice suddenly sounded. The archer who originally shot the arrow at Ji Yunfan and the magician who was on the same table stood in two directions of Ji Yunfan. When the words of the man in black just fell, almost everyone shot at the same time. After the three arrows were caught by the archer, they were put on the longbow and pulled, and they were fired with a whoosh sound, shooting towards Ji Yunfan swiftly. Chapter 302 Speculations. As Ji Yunfan was running, a vortex of flame elements suddenly formed in front of him, blocking Ji Yunfan's way, and forcing him to bear one of the attacks. The remaining swordsman who had attacked Ji Yunfan just now took advantage of this moment to quickly approach with his sword, only 3 meters away from Ji Yunfan. Several entangled men in black also rushed over from the back, obviously intending to leave Ji Yunfan here. These bastards don't take me seriously. Elvis felt that he seemed to be ignored, and abandoned his own sword, and killed the men in black alive. Elvis turned his body to one side, suddenly changed direction, went around to the right, and directly crossed the magic flame vortex. Several waves of fighting spirit came whistling, directly killing the swordsman who wanted to get close to Ji Yunfan on the spot. Ji Yunfan was also angry, and the dagger in his hand swung quickly, and instantly came to the side of the magician, and a backhand stab decisively cut off the opponent's throat. Ji Yunfan and his team quickly dealt with the people who were blocking the way, and they continued to walk deeper into the passage. Soon, they arrived at the place where the men in black were meeting. Looking at the furnishings in the room, Elvis's face was very ugly. He couldn't imagine that there would be such a place under their noses. Lord Elvis, it seems that some important people have evacuated. What should we do now? Sict asked, somewhat at a loss. Viscount Dante, you found this den. What do you think we should do now? Elvis asked in a deep voice. I think the others should not have gone far. These people just stopped us, just to give the others time to escape. Ji Yunfan said, I believe those people are still in Babylon City. At this point, Ji Yunfan frowned slightly, because one of the 4 shadow demons he released had been discovered by a man in black, and the man in black actually purified the shadow demon. At the moment of purification, he felt the power of light. You must know that anyone who uses the power of light is basically a member of the church. The gates of Babylon were closed, and the entire city was under martial law, not allowing anyone to enter or leave at will. What went wrong? How could our base be discovered suddenly? Is there a traitor among us? Absolutely impossible. If there was a traitor, our base would have been destroyed by them long ago. Unless it was that guy. I have already said that the people of the church cannot be trusted, but you just don't listen. The people in black also fell into mutual suspicion. In their opinion, the original base would never be discovered by others. But how did they know that Yunfan had signed a contract with the Shadow Demon, and Yunfan tracked one of them with the help of the Shadow Demon's perspective? They naturally didn't know that their every move was now under Yunfan's surveillance. They thought that their backup base was very safe and the Western Legion should not be able to find them for a while. How could they know that the reason why Yunfan indulged them was because he wanted to use them to catch another big fish and find the guy hidden in the upper echelons of the Western Legion? Viscount Dante, I heard from Brother Elvis that you want to see me. In front of Yunfan stood a middle-aged man wearing armor, with a burly figure and a determined face. Yes, Commander Prescottfield, I need your help now, Yunfan said as he took out his identity token of the other shore. The middle-aged man with a determined face showed a slight surprise on his face after seeing the token that Yunfan took out. I didn't expect Viscount Dante to have this identity. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Yunfan told Prescottfield about what he had found, and Prescottfield's face became very ugly. Brother Elvis, do you mean that Jacasparu betrayed us? Is he a traitor left in our empire by the Ouroboros Empire? Do you know what you are talking about? Once these words are spread, do you know what impact it will have on our Western Legion? Prescottfield asked several questions in a row. He could not believe that Jacasparu would betray the Empire. Of course I know what I'm talking about, Cairns Elvis said in a deep voice, and I've found some evidence. As he spoke, Cairns Elvis took out a small book from his space ring and handed it to Prescottfield. The impact of what you said is really too great. I still can't believe what you said, Prescottfield said with a gloomy face. Commander of the Legion, I know you can't accept this fact for a while, but, Brother Elvis, don't say it anymore. You are my brother, and Jacasparu is also my brother. I don't want such words to come out of your mouth, Prescottfield said. Commander of the Legion Prescottfield, I know it's hard for you to believe this fact, but I'm absolutely sure that I can prove that Jacasparu is indeed an undercover sent by the Ouroboros Empire, Yunfan suddenly said. Viscount Dante, do you know what you are saying now? If you can't prove that Jacasparu is an undercover sent by the Ouroboros Empire, I will never let you off easily. Prescottfield's eyes were extremely gloomy and terrifying. In that case, please bring your people with me, Lord Commander, Yunfan suddenly said. I want to see what you are up to, Prescottfield said expressionlessly. Yunfan brought Prescottfield and others directly to the residence of Jacasparu. Viscount Dante, you don't want me to search Jacasparu's house directly? Prescottfield's eyes were gloomy and terrifying. Yes. Yunfan looked as if it was a matter of course. It's just nonsense, Viscount Dante. Even if you are a member of the other side, you can't be so nonsense, right? Lord Prescottfield, I must once again solemnly tell you that there is a problem with Jacasparu, and the problem is very serious. Since you insist on doing this, I will do as you say. Even if His Majesty supports you, I will never let you go easily. Chapter 303, Jacasparu. Yunfan shook his head slightly. He naturally understood Prescottfield's performance. After working together for decades, no one could stand the fact that someone suddenly said that someone was a spy sent by another country. Otherwise, Cairns Elvis would not have kept this matter from Prescottfield for the time being. Go knock on the door, Prescottfield ordered a soldier beside him. After hearing the order from his Legion commander, the soldier next to Prescottfield did as he was told without thinking. Who is it? After waiting for a while, a voice came from the door, and then the door was opened. A man dressed as a soldier came out. After seeing Prescottfield, he was stunned for a moment, and then exclaimed in disbelief, "How come you are here, Legion commander? Where is Jacasparu? Let him come out," Prescottfield ordered. "The deputy Legion commander is feeling a little unwell now, so please forgive me, Legion commander," the soldier said with a slight bow. Hearing this, Prescottfield couldn't help but frowned. He had a very bad feeling in his heart. The more this happens, the more I should go to see Jacasparu. What's the matter? At this time, a somewhat weak voice suddenly came from the yard, and then a pale middle-aged man walked out. "Jacasparu, what's the matter with your body?" Prescottfield couldn't help but ask with concern. "Jacasparu greets the commander. I just have a relapse of mild illness. It's nothing serious," The pale middle-aged man said, I wonder what the commander wants to do with me? What can it be? I just want to come and see you. It seems that your current physical condition is not suitable for receiving guests. I think you should wait a few days until you get better before coming. Prescott Field said. Wait a minute. Seeing the performance of the pale-faced middle-aged man, Yunfan couldn't help but give him a thumbs up in his heart. If he hadn't sent out the shadow demon early, he might have been fooled by this powerful actor. I don't know who this is. The pale-faced middle-aged man looked as if he didn't know Yunfan. Viscount Dante, Kuska's physical condition is very unstable now. I hope you don't mess around here. Prescott Field frowned and threatened in a deep voice. Master Prescott Field, I won't mess around. I just have a question to ask Master Kuska. Yunfan said in a very calm tone. You. Prescott Field's impression of Yunfan was extremely bad at this moment. If it weren't for Yunfan being a member of the other side, I'm afraid he would want to attack Yunfan. Master, don't be angry, it's just answering a few questions from Viscount Dante. The pale-faced middle-aged man coughed lightly and said, in that case, I want to ask the deputy commander, I wonder if you have heard that there have been many foreign visitors in Babylon City in recent days. Yunfan said with a smile. Foreign visitors? I don't know. The pale middle-aged man shook his head slightly and said, in that case, I wonder where the black evil spirit in the hands of the deputy commander came from? Yunfan suddenly said. Black evil spirit? The pale middle-aged man's face suddenly changed after hearing what Yunfan said about the black evil spirit, but he quickly reacted and pretended to be very puzzled, but he was secretly on guard in his heart. What is that? Why have I never heard of it? Black evil spirit is a very strange medicine. After taking this medicine, the breath of the user will be very weak, and the face will be pale, as if it has been injured for a long time. The current state of the pale middle-aged man is caused by taking black evil spirit. If Yunfan had not released the shadow demon and learned about the existence of black evil spirit from the conversation between the pale middle-aged man and a man in black, he really didn't know what the black evil spirit was for. Isn't your current appearance caused by taking the black evil? Yunfan said lightly. Viscount Dante, I really don't know what you are talking about. Ahem. The pale middle-aged man still pretended to be ignorant, but the occasional panic in his eyes could not escape Yunfan's mental power. The pale middle-aged man's fleeting panic just now fell into Prescott Field's eyes. Although Prescott Field rationally felt that there was something wrong with the pale middle-aged man in front of him, he refused to believe it in his heart. Kuska, we need to search your yard. Prescott Field said. No problem, Legion Commander. The pale middle-aged man nodded and said, then please follow me. The pale middle-aged man said, and wanted to lead everyone into the yard. However, Yunfan was a little hesitant. Just now, he had used the shadow demon to sense the situation in the courtyard clearly. He knew that the pale middle-aged man let them in because he had set up a battle array. Viscount Dante, wasn't it your idea to come and search the courtyard? Why are you hesitant now? Prescott Field said indifferently. That's because the Deputy Legion Commander has set up a net, and I'm afraid that this trip will never come back. Yunfan said. The pale middle-aged man couldn't help but look at Yunfan more, and then a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Viscount Dante, you think too much, don't you? We have never met, and there is no grudge between us. Why should I harm you? These need to be asked to you. Yunfan said tit for tat. Viscount Dante, I hope you don't jump to conclusions before you find out the whole story. Prescott Field said in a deep voice. It seems that the commander of the army will not give up until he hits the wall. Yunfan sighed slightly. Prescott Field did not say much and led his men and followed the pale man into the courtyard. Seeing this, Yunfan could not help but shook his head slightly. He understood Prescott Field's feelings, and Yunfan knew that he had believed what he said. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304 The Truth. but he was deceiving himself and didn't want to believe it. Prescott Field and the others had already gone in, and Yunfan couldn't stay outside either. After all, this matter was caused by him. What Yunfan didn't expect was that when he entered the courtyard, the pale middle-aged man had already shown his fangs and faced Prescott Field from a distance. Jacob's Barrow, what are you going to do? Prescott Field's face was so gloomy that water could drip from it. My dear Captain Yuan, you've come all this time, don't you know what I'm going to do? The pale middle-aged man had a sneer on his face. But why is this? We've been through life and death for so many years. If it weren't for you, I would have died on the battlefield long ago. Prescott Field asked loudly with an unbelievable look on his face and excitedly. How dare you say that? We went through life and death together. How dare you say that? If it weren't for me, you would have died on the battlefield. I treated you as a brother, but how did you treat me? Do you know that saving your life was the most wrong thing I have ever done in my life? If it weren't for you, Aurora would be mine now. If it weren't for you, the commander of the Western Legion would be mine. The pale middle-aged man said with gritted teeth. Aurora has been dead for so many years, why can't you let go? If you told me that you wanted to be the commander of the Western Legion, I would have given it to you. Prescott Field said in a low voice. Give it to me. Do I, Jacasbro, need the charity of a hypocritical guy like you? The pale middle-aged man asked with a ferocious face. Tell me what I'm inferior to you. If the old Legion commander had not been partial to you, do you think you could sit in that position? Don't mention Aurora, that damn bitch. Jacasbro, don't involve Aurora in the matter between you and me. Prescott Field, hearing someone scolding the woman he once loved, couldn't help but get angry. Why can't you help it when you mention that bitch Aurora, my Legion commander? By the way, do you know how that bitch died? Jacasbro said with a ferocious smile like a madman. Didn't you say that you were assassinated by the people of the Oroba Empire back then, didn't you? Prescott Field seemed to have thought of something, and his face became terribly gloomy. Of course not. I tried my best to pursue that bitch, but that bitch looked down on me. So you killed her? Yes, so I killed her. Do you know? She was still thinking about you when she was dying. I told her that, if she regretted it, I would spare her life, but this bitch never repented until she died. So you brutally killed her and dismembered her body. Prescott Field was like an angry lion. Prescott Field, I didn't expect you to be angry. I thought you were heartless. Jacob Saberu laughed evilly. Jacob Saberu, angry? Everyone present couldn't help but fall and take a breath of cold air. How perverted and twisted must this mentality be to kill the woman he loves and dismember her? Beast. At this moment, a shrill scream suddenly broke the silence of the sky. Prescott Field, who was running, swung the long sword in his hand and wanted to kill Jacasbro. However, in front of Jacasbro, a guy wearing black clothes and covering his face stood there. The guy didn't even think about it and went straight to Prescott Field. However, the guy's strength was much worse than Prescott Field. After a head-on collision with Prescott Field, the long sword in his hand was instantly broken into two pieces, and the corners of his mouth fell weakly from the roof with blood. Where he had just been, holding a long sword, Prescott Field stood proudly and majestically. Jacasbro, I didn't expect that you have such a loyal person in your hands. Prescott Field said in a deep voice. Prescott Field, there are actually many things you can't think of. Jacasbro said leisurely. While he was talking, many black-clothed masked men appeared from the dark. Prescott Field snorted when he saw these people. He knew that there was no chance to kill Jacasbro directly. With the long sword in his hand raised, he stood there majestically and slashed directly at the two men in black who were closest to him, apparently intending to deal with the others first. Activate the magic trap. Jacob's Beru suddenly said. Then a colorful light enveloped the entire courtyard. Jacob's Beru really didn't expect that your courtyard had such a high-level magic array. Ken Zelvis exclaimed. In fact, I have been waiting for this day for a long time. Jacob's Beru said with deep eyes. The bodies of the men in black who were rushing quickly also stopped suddenly turned around, and fled back at a faster speed. Ken Zelvis let you escape accidentally some time ago. This time you can't get away, even if you have wings, right? One of the men in black suddenly said. Hubbard Anderson, I didn't expect you to be in Babylon City. Ken Elvis heard the words of the man in black, thought about it for a while, and then identified the other party's identity. There are still many things you can't imagine. Hubbard Anderson sneered. After coming to Babylon City, do you think you can leave here? Ken Elvis also sneered. Leave here? Why should we leave here? As long as we kill all of you, the entire Babylon City will be in our pocket. Hubbard Anderson raised his mouth slightly with a mocking smile. I just don't know if you have the ability to do it. Prescott Field said expressionlessly. Prescott Field, to be honest, I have been preparing to deal with you for a long time. As long as I kill all of you, I can directly take over the Western Legion. By then. Chapter 305 attempt. If you want to directly replace my Western Legion, you probably don't have the ability yet. Prescott Field snorted coldly. Prescott Field's heart was not at peace at all, because in this strange magic circle, he felt that his strength was suppressed, and he could only exert 70% of his strength. Although Prescott Field's strength was stronger than that of Jika Saberu in normal times, he felt that his situation was very bad under the suppression of this formation. In a blink of an eye, everyone was fighting. Yunfan knew that it was a critical moment, so he naturally would not hide his strength. With a slight movement of his mental power, Yunfan directly summoned all the alloy skeleton warriors in the small world of the undead. Under Yunfan's command, these alloy skeleton warriors actually ran quickly. Each of them was like a knight who had experienced hundreds of battles, and rushed towards the man in black. However, the few men in black who were closest to them were shocked. They had never thought that Yunfan's alloy skeleton warriors could be so fast that they could use the momentum to jump directly to their side. In a panic, they quickly picked up their weapons to resist, but they really underestimated the strength of these skeleton warriors. Several weaker men in black were killed. Among the men in black, there were also 2 mages. They hurriedly chanted spells, but their speed was still a little slow. No one among the skeleton warriors, otherwise they would have directly come to the side of the 2 of them with a flash. Then the alloy bone knives in their hands drew a beautiful arc in the air and chopped off the heads of the 2 magicians. In an instant, the opponent lost 4 men. Arsehole. There were only 3 magicians among the men in black, 2 of whom were killed by the skeleton warriors. The only remaining magician had a ferocious face. You should know that among these men in black, the relationship between these 3 magicians was the best. The god of fire size. The 3rd magician released his best fire magic, and the blue flame spread instantly. 2 ordinary alloy skeleton warriors turned into ashes in the blue flame. Yunfan's face changed slightly, but skeleton warrior number 1 didn't care about the obstruction of the flame. He rushed into the flame. When skeleton warrior number 1 walked out of the fire with a red body, he was in front of the fire magician in shock. He chopped the fire magician to the ground with the alloy bone knife in his hand. Dead. At this moment, all the magicians among the men in black were killed by Yunfan. The remaining black-clad men were all warriors. The threat of warriors alone was much lower than that of mages. The 2 swordsmen wanted to surround and kill Yunfan, but before they could, they were stopped by Ken Elvis. The 2 black-clad swordsmen were only level 6 and level 6 masters, but facing Ken Elvis and level 8 master was enough to make them both die. When the 2 wanted to dodge, it was too late. Death enveloped the 2 black-clad swordsmen. The space ring flashed, and Yunfan held a magic gun in his hand and fired several shots at a swordsman not far away. The black-clad swordsman seemed to sense the danger and suddenly retreated. When he wanted to withdraw, Yunfan's magic gun shot at the back of the level 6 warrior like a messenger chasing his life. The level 6 swordsman who turned around and planned to escape had no choice but to turn around and block it. But when he smashed the magic bullet shot by Yunfan, Ken Elvis was already standing in front of him. The alloy skeleton warrior number 1, who had killed the fire magician, turned around and jumped to the side of another man in black. When the alloy skeleton warrior number 1 came over, the long swords in the hands of the 2 black swordsmen shot out violently. After a series of changes just now, they dared not underestimate the alloy skeleton warrior number 1 in front of them. When the 2 black swordsmen and the alloy skeleton warrior number 1 were fighting hand to hand, no one expected that the alloy skeleton warrior number 1 actually used flash directly, missed the attacks of the 2 men in black, and then waved the alloy bone knife in his hand and actually directly cut the space, and one of the men in black was directly cut in half. Damn, this is a space blade. When did the skeleton warriors also master space magic? The other man in black, who was not attacked, couldn't help but curse. The two gangs were already fighting fiercely at this moment. Not only were more than half of the men in black dead or injured, but Prescott Field's men were also killed and injured. If this continues, I'm afraid it will be really troublesome. Yunfan looked at the increasing number of casualties on his side, frowned and said to himself in a deep voice, the main reason is that this magic circle is too suppressive to everyone. If possible, it would be better if we can directly break this magic circle. Yunfan boy, if other people have no way to deal with this magic circle, you may not be able to do it. Sakadan's voice suddenly rang in Yunfan's mind. Why? This magic circle can actually be regarded as a prototype of a domain. Although you can't use the domain yet, haven't you already comprehended the prototype of the domain? Try to see if you can control this magic circle. Sakadan said. You mean I can completely use this magic circle for my own use? Yunfan said with a flash of inspiration in his eyes. Yes, if you can control this magic circle, you can not only remove your own restrictions, but also use it to restrict them. Sakadan said. How should I do it? Yunfan asked anxiously. I can't help you with this. Everything depends on your own understanding. Sakadan shook his head and said. A domain can actually be regarded as an independent space. Its characteristic is to exclude dissidents. If I use my mental power to transform into a power similar to this, I can become a part of this independent space. Yunfan muttered to himself thoughtfully. At this time, the shadow demons he sent out had found the basic array base of the magic circle. Yunfan had an idea and directly let those shadow demons possess the array base of the magic circle, and then tried to control the array base of these magic circles through the shadow demons. Chapter 306 Hatred. So that's how it is. Yunfan nodded with a little understanding. Prescott Field, I seem to have told you at the beginning that I would leave you all here and then control the entire Western Legion. Isn't it going to happen now? Hubbard Anderson laughed. Space, time, independence. Sure enough, this magic circle is the primary prototype of the field. Do you really think you have already won? Yunfan suddenly said. Dante, what do you mean by this? Do you still think you have a chance to turn defeat into victory? Don't be funny. Unless it is a saint level strongman, no one can break my magic circle. Jekasperu sneered. Really? You should know that people who despise me never have a good end. Yunfan smiled slightly and said half jokingly. In that case, come and break my magic circle again. Let me see how capable you are. You said this. I must not regret it. Yunfan said, while controlling the shadow demon. Yunfan's words had just fallen, but Jakasperu's face suddenly changed, looking at Yunfan in disbelief. How did you do it? Because just now, Jakasperu felt that the magic circle was no longer under his control. This is impossible. Jakasperu seemed to be trapped in a magic barrier. Jakasperu, you are distracted. At the same time, Prescott Field took advantage of this opportunity and gained the upper hand. Magic circle suppression. Yunfan raised the corner of his mouth and whispered. At the same time, Jakasperu and his men felt a sense of oppression coming instantly, and then Jakasperu felt that his own strength was suppressed. Jakasperu paused slightly, and the confident smile on his face seemed to solidify in an instant. A ray of fierce light suddenly burst out in his eyes, and his whole face was twisted in a hideous way. Then you will die first, Jakasperu said in a cold voice. Although Jakasperu didn't know how Yunfan controlled his magic circle, he guessed that, as long as he got rid of him, the control of the magic circle would return to his hands. As soon as the voice fell, Jakasperu bypassed Prescott Field and suddenly took a big step towards Yunfan. He raised the sword in his hand high and stabbed it directly at Yunfan's face. Everyone was shocked by the change. No one thought that Jakasperu would give up his opponent and choose to kill Yunfan. Viscount Dante. Cairns Elvis exclaimed, because he could only watch, that Jakasperu was about to take Yunfan's life. Because he was fighting with Hubbard Anderson now, he really had no time to split himself. Jakasbaru showed a trace of complacency on his face, and his move was extremely ruthless, leaving no room for maneuver. At this distance, and with such an attack, Jakasbaru was confident that no 5th level master could survive. How dare this bastard boy ruin my plans again and again. The sword slashed down, and it seemed to carry the resentment of Jakasbaru himself. After all, if it weren't for this kid, he wouldn't be so passive now. Of course, revenge and venting one's dissatisfaction are just incidental things. The magic circle is crucial. Regaining it is the key to life and death. Only when this kid dies, their chances of winning will be greater. How? How is it possible? A 5th level kid didn't die. Jakasbaru couldn't wait to see Yunfan's panic, but when the sword slashed in front of Yunfan moved slightly, and the flash was activated instantly, and fled far away. Then Yunfan raised the shadow dagger to block in front of him. Jakasbaru's sword slashed on the shadow dagger, but only knocked Yunfan and the dagger away, and did not kill him with one blow. Incredible, really incredible. A 5th level professional actually survived a full strength attack from an 8th level professional. The problem is how could this kid have time to prepare? A sudden attack at this distance would kill even a 6th level professional instantly. In a flash, after Yunfan used the shadow dagger to resist a heavy attack, the shadow dagger actually had a lot of cracks, and it seemed that it was overwhelmed. Yunfan also slid a few meters away and finally stabilized his own body. Looking up, Yunfan's face was very cold, and the ups and downs in his chest showed that this attack brought him a lot of trouble. Sure enough, he still attacked me. Sure enough, this guy's not stupid and has thought about the key. But there is still a big gap between me and the 8th level strongman. Shame on you. An 8th level strongman personally dealt with a small 5th level professional like me. Shame on you. Yunfan spit and cursed fiercely. Hahaha, I really didn't expect that. I can't help but be a little curious about what other tricks you have. I'm at the 8th level and you're at the 5th level. I couldn't kill you with my full strength attack. Jakasbaru laughed wildly. At this moment, he was a madman with twisted thoughts. Yunfan glanced at the other people who were still standing there, and finally cast his eyes on Prescott Field and shouted anxiously, "Captain, help me." Jakasbaru's face immediately sank, his pupils flashed with a fierce light, and he said viciously, "No one can save you." Taking advantage of the situation, Jakasbaru flew out nimbly, and the long sword in his hand, slashed at Yunfan again. Yunfan saw Jakasbaru slashing at him, and his heart beat violently. At this moment, although Prescott Field had come to rescue, Yunfan gritted his teeth, and activated his mental power instantly, piercing his mind. Jakasbaru's body paused, and Yunfan took this opportunity to retreat 5 meters away. Dark sword. While retreating, Yunfan's magic was also completed. A dark sword pierced directly into the center of Jakasbaru's brow. Jakasbaru was shocked by the sudden change and broke out in a cold sweat. When he fled in panic, the dark sword pierced Jakasbaru's right arm. "Damn it. I actually let you, a little thing, hurt me." Jakasbaru roared. "That's enough, Jakasbaru. It's my fault for not discovering your identity. I will also avenge your aura. I will definitely kill you today," Prescott Field said firmly. Haha, haha, kill me. Chapter 307, Breaking the Heavens and Slaying the Gods. Jakasbaru. Prescott Field wanted to scream from the depths of his throat, but his throat was blocked by a sharp pain, and he couldn't even shout. Although the girl he loved deeply had died for many years, Aurora's voice and smile had always remained in his memory. The memory was like a flood, directly impacting his mind. Every bit of his time with the girl. She had never known who killed her. He had put all his energy into the development of the Western Army, hoping that one day he could lead the Western Army to defeat the Oroba Empire to avenge her. Now the enemy was in front of him, and he was a brother he had fought with before. He felt mixed emotions. 8th level fighting skill, breaking the sky, and killing the gods. Prescott Field turned all his anger into motivation, and completed the fighting skill he had never completed before. The extremely powerful sword edge, like a giant blade that opened up the world, had even torn the space apart, and the powerful wave shook, directly turning the entire courtyard into a flat ground. "I didn't expect that you, an old man, could actually complete the heaven-shattering god-slaying skill." Jekasperu was shocked at the moment. He couldn't believe his eyes. He knew Prescottfield's background very well. Although Prescottfield was slightly stronger than him, it was impossible for Prescottfield to defeat him. Prescottfield had been learning the 8th level fighting skill heaven-shattering god-slaying skill all along. As his best friend, Prescottfield naturally did not hide his skills from him. He taught him all his fighting skills. However, the more he understood this fighting skill, the more Jekasperu felt the horror of this fighting skill. He knew that one day he would be in opposition to Prescottfield. Over the years, he had been secretly practicing this fighting skill, but he had never gained anything. Arsehole, 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 I'm going to kill you. He had never been able to comprehend the true meaning of the 8th level fighting skill heaven-shattering god-slaying skill, so every time he used it, he felt as if he was missing something. Until this moment, he really understood the true meaning of this fighting skill. If you give up everything, you will never look back. Ha 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 ha, Prescottfield, you really brought me joy. A little guy, I don't know what means he used, but he took away my control of the magic circle. An old guy actually broke through his own obstacles and practiced fighting skills that he had never practiced before. But this deputy leader, I will teach you another lesson. You must keep a backup plan when doing anything. What? Everyone was a little confused after hearing this. No one expected that Jekasperu, who was originally shouting to kill everyone, suddenly took out a magic scroll from his space ring. What is that? That's a directional space magic teleportation scroll. Yunfan recognized it at a glance, because he had seen this kind of scroll more than once, and couldn't help but exclaimed, damn, how come he has this thing in his hand? Prescottfield's face turned very ugly after hearing Yunfan's words. He directly tried to stop Jekasperu from leaving, but his action was still a little slow. Jekasperu had already opened the magic scroll and left through space teleportation. Including Hubbard Anderson, no one expected Jekasperu to do this. Damn, this bastard actually ran away. Without Jekasperu's restraint, Hubbard Anderson and others were completely passive. The rest of the people also understood very well that Prescottfield would definitely not let them go. Fight to the death. Hubbard Anderson was already killing a weaker guy while speaking. As an 8th level professional swordsman, Hubbard Anderson's strength is not the top among the 8th level, but from the perspective of speed alone, it is still not comparable to ordinary professionals. The weaker professional can't even see his figure clearly. Get out of the way. Prescottfield shouted. Everyone present knew the strength of Hubbard Anderson. If he were to get close to any low-level soldier, he would end up in a miserable state, and the possibility of losing his life would be very high. On the other side, the one who wanted to break through Yunfan was also a 6th level professional. Because the two had already collided with their weapons for more than 10 times, the 6th level professional felt that he could not break through Yunfan in a short time, and stared at Yunfan with his hateful and irritable eyes. The 6th level black clothed professional tightly grasped the long sword in his hand, looking for Yunfan's flaw. He knew that he had few chances to break through, so he was extremely careful. Just when Yunfan took a step forward, he suddenly attacked. At the same time, he actually kicked up a few pieces of gravel with his feet. Flying sand and rolling stones was the name of the fighting skills he practiced. The 6th level black clothed professional wanted to use these gravels to attack Yunfan, or distract Yunfan. Yunfan's brain was working fast, and he had observation and analysis abilities that ordinary people didn't have. When the yellow flying sand and rocks came towards him, Yunfan was already prepared. He rolled sideways and dodged quickly. The position where Yunfan was originally standing was hit by many holes by the flying sand and rocks. For a moment, the place where he was originally standing became riddled with holes. Yunfan couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. If these flying sand and rocks hit him, even he would be seriously injured. The eyes had already emitted a black glow, which became stronger and stronger, and even surrounded Yunfan with black mist. The dark magic base instantly completed the magic construction. They transmitted the dark power to each other, and quickly condensed a large wave of dark element that were tumbling and twisting around Yunfan. Eternal night descend. With the help of the dark element, Yunfan's figure was quickly submerged in the black mist of the dark element. Then Yunfan let out a long breath and wandered in the black mist of the dark element. The 6th level black clothed professional was nervous and on guard at this moment. Boy, if you have the guts, you can fight me openly. Fight openly. Do you really think I'm stupid? Yunfan said in a cold tone, with a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. Should I say who is stupid, you or me? Yunfan held the shadow dagger in his right hand and wandered in the black mist of the dark element. Die. Chapter 308 Rage Potion. The shadowy 6th rank swordsman wanted to dodge, but Yunfan had already locked onto the possible position where he could dodge. Ashura key. In order to get rid of the shadowy 6th rank swordsman as soon as possible, he directly transformed the Dao key in his body into Ashura Dao key. This Ashura Dao key has a powerful destructive power. The moment the Dao key enters the opponent's body, it destroys the opponent's veins with overwhelming force. The black Ashura Dao key is dense and crawling all over the body of the shadowy 6th rank swordsman. The shadowy 6th rank swordsman keeps roaring in pain. The shadowy 6th rank swordsman loses his mobility in an instant and can no longer move. He can only stand there and wait for death silently. Black lotus blooms. Yunfan curled his lips coldly. The Ashura Dao key directly destroyed the opponent's divine body. His pupils shone with a luster of black and red. I don't know when one of his hands was half holding a lotus transformed from a burning black flame. He threw the flame black lotus in his hand directly, and it could be seen flying straight into the mouth of the shadow 6th level swordsman who was howling in pain. Sure enough, the flame black lotus clearly pierced into the slightly raised head of the shadow 6th level swordsman and floated into his mouth. The flame black lotus formed by the fusion of dark magic element and fire magic element exploded in an instant. The flame black lotus instantly swept the whole body of the shadow 6th level swordsman. In an instant, the shadow 6th level swordsman was burned in the black flames and turned into ashes in an instant. The battle lasted for more than half an hour, and all the black clothed men, except Hubbard Anderson, were killed. Hubbard Anderson's face was terribly gloomy. He knew that his chances of escaping were now very slim. To be honest, he was very unwilling now. He didn't know how the original plan had been so good, but suddenly Heng Sheng came to this point. I admit that I really miscalculated this time. If I knew this would be the result, I would never come to Babylon. Hubbard Anderson half covered his injured chest, pale and twitching violently. It's too late for you to regret now, isn't it? Surrender now and we'll leave you with a whole body. How about that? Ken Elvis said. Haha, you guys look down on me. Hubbard Anderson, too much. Hubbard Anderson laughed wantonly, as if he had heard some funny jokes. Hubbard Anderson underestimated Yunfan after all. He never thought that this kid actually had so many inexplicable abilities, which made many of his plans fail. Since it has come to this, I can only fight hard. Hubbard Anderson showed a resolute look in his eyes. Otherwise he took out a small potion bottle from his space ring, opened the mouth of the potion bottle directly, and poured the black potion inside into his mouth. That's the berserk potion. Yunfan suddenly thought of something and shouted out loud. Berserk potion? Damn. Looking at Hubbard Anderson's eyes that had slowly turned red, Prescott Field couldn't help but curse inwardly. That's not a berserk potion, but a crazy potion that makes people lose their minds and increase their strength. Sakharden suddenly said. It will make him lose his mind. If he loses his mind, Hubbard Anderson will be reckless and fight like a beast. His strength is simply unpredictable. Yunfan said in a deep voice. How can there be such an evil potion in this world? Is it the work of the Bone Cult or the Immortal King? Yunfan, don't say it. You really guessed it this time. This crazy potion is really prepared by the Immortal King for his own Deadpool. Otherwise why are so many gods afraid of this madman? Sakharden said. Everyone, be careful. That's not a berserk potion, but a crazy potion that makes people lose their minds and increase their strength. Yunfan reminded again. Roar. Hubbard Anderson suddenly roared like a beast, and then his whole body began to mutate violently. In his eyes, there was no other emotion, except anger and killing. Roar. Hubbard Anderson suddenly ran wildly in an instant, and his speed was more than doubled compared to the beginning. Under Hubbard Anderson's lightning speed, Prescott Field soldiers were beaten to pieces, and lost their combat effectiveness in an instant. In the end, only Hubbard Anderson, Prescott Field, Ken Elvis and Yunfan were left on the long face. Relying on his space magic, Yunfan stood to the end. He was no longer sure that he could hold on to the end. Viscount Dante, release the eternal night to protect yourself. Not far away, Prescottfield shouted to Yunfan. Yunfan glanced at Prescottfield and realized that his strength was still a little weak compared to others, so he did not hesitate to cast his dark magic Eternal Night. Eternal Night Decay. If the power of Eternal Night Decay is released well, it will be enough to blind Hubbard Anderson's eyes and make him lose some of his combat power. Feeling the emergence of the dark power, Hubbard Anderson instinctively turned his face away, with a bit of disdain on his face. This power of Eternal Night Decay has no direct killing power, it can only be worn away little by little. The decayed dark element will recover quickly, if they are not directly contacted. Now Hubbard Anderson's defense has suddenly increased a lot, and the effect of the power of decay is very small. Break the sky, and kill the gods. A voice appeared behind Hubbard Anderson, and the next second a powerful attack came from behind Hubbard Anderson's neck. A black sword-like object appeared in the darkness without any warning. It flashed a dazzling light, and exuded a bit of coldness. It just swung through the air, and slashed towards Hubbard Anderson. If Hubbard Anderson had not taken the potion, he would have been absolutely unable to escape according to his strength. However, after taking the potion, Hubbard Anderson was like a wild beast, extremely sensitive to danger. Feeling the destructive breath brought to him by the sword, Hubbard Anderson almost abandoned everything and ran away. Hubbard Anderson fled from the spot, but the black sword did not care about any obstacles in front of it, and cut the earth in two. Chapter 309 Transmission. Although Hubbard Anderson dodged the fatal blow, he was still affected by the powerful blow. The sharp and powerful blade completely cut Hubbard Anderson's left shoulder. The blood kept flowing, and the instinctive fear spread throughout Hubbard Anderson's body. Just when Hubbard Anderson was in a panic, Yunfan gathered all the dark element around him together, and with the help of his mastery of space magic, he instantly threw the ball with the dark element, gathered at one point into Hubbard Anderson's mouth. The dark element exploded in Hubbard Anderson's mouth, and Hubbard Anderson's body turned into ashes in the dark element. The sudden change made everyone slightly stunned. Prescottfield and others never thought that Hubbard Anderson would be solved like this. Good job, Viscount Dante. A soldier jumped out from a corner and said excitedly. It's terrible. I never thought it would be the deputy commander. I feel like I will never trust anyone in my life. After a short rest, several soldiers who had lost their fighting power climbed up from the ground. Yunfan couldn't help but let out a long breath and looked at Prescottfield. He was a little distraught at the moment. To be honest, Yunfan felt sorry for Prescottfield. The person he liked was killed by the person he thought was his brother, and that person had been by his side for decades. Viscount Dante, thanks to you this time. If it weren't for you, our Western Corps would have suffered heavy losses. Cairns Elvis quickly stabilized his emotions and walked out of his distraught state. Is everyone else okay? Yunfan asked with a sigh. The living soldiers gathered one after another, and only Prescottfield was still standing there in a distraught state. The battle was over, and the blood of many soldiers had dried up. Looking at the pool of blood as red as a carpet, the sadness and solemnity enveloped everyone's heart. Commander, let's go. We still have a lot of things to do. Cairns Elvis walked up to Prescottfield, not knowing what to say to comfort him. Who says men don't cry easily? It's just that they haven't been sad yet. When Prescottfield saw Cairns Elvis, his emotions seemed to collapse completely, and tears rushed out. How could this be? How could it be him? You know, he saved my life before. Fortunately, we discovered it early, otherwise I really don't know what other means he would use. Cairns Elvis also sighed softly. The relationship between Prescottfield and Jacasperu cannot be explained in a few words. Even he couldn't believe it when he first heard the news. Commander, what are you going to do? Cairns Elvis continued to ask. Prescottfield was like a wounded little beast, almost swearing a poisonous oath and roaring, I will get rid of him myself. Prescottfield's unforgettable words echoed in his ears, but Cairns Elvis was a little stunned. To be honest, this was the first time he saw Prescottfield lose his composure like this. Prescottfield's image has always been like a monument in his mind, a giant that will never be defeated. At this moment, his image collapsed. At this moment, he cried like a child, but his heart became stronger after being baptized by the hot blood. Yunfan watched everyone silently. To be honest, he had not been in the Western Legion for a long time, and he did not know much about the feelings between soldiers. He did not know what words he should use to comfort these people. However, the rebellion of the Deputy Legion Commander was a heavy blow to everyone. Walking out of the courtyard, the tired faces of more than a dozen people who survived finally squeezed out a smile. This time they clearly felt the preciousness of life, and they were very glad that they could survive. Ken Elvis explained to Yunfan, then turned and left. The rebellion of the Deputy Commander of the Western Army had a huge impact, and he had to deal with some things quickly. Who is Viscount Dante? I am. Yunfan raised his head, sweating profusely and also very tired. Someone asked me to send you a letter, the man said. Yunfan frowned slightly. He couldn't figure out who would write to him, but he still took the letter from the man. Yunfan opened the envelope and read the contents of the letter. He couldn't help but frown again. He didn't expect that this letter was left to him by Kuska. There were many words of praise for him in the letter, which roughly meant that I admire you very much and hope you can work with me. After Yunfan finished reading the contents of the letter, he tore it up. Kuska was definitely an extremely dangerous and perverted person. He could kill the person he liked with his own hands. Who else could he not use? Yunfan always kept a distance from such a person. If possible, he even wanted to kill him with his own hands. Where is the person who asked you to deliver the letter? Although Yunfan knew that Kuska must have left, he still asked. The person who asked me to deliver the letter was just at the corner over there. He gave me a bag of gold coins as a reward for delivering the letter, and then turned around and left. I don't know where he is now, the soldier said. Yunfan nodded, and he decided to report the matter to the Legion Commander Prescottfield. Brother, come with me to see the Legion Commander, and tell him what happened just now, Yunfan said. Viscount Dante, I didn't do anything. I just sent you a letter. There's no need to meet the Legion Commander. Besides, the Legion Commander is busy with all kinds of things every day, and has no time to see me. The soldier said nervously, how about I give you all the gold coins? That bag of gold coins is your reward. How could I steal your gold coins? It's just that this matter involves a lot, so you must come with me to meet the Legion Commander. Yunfan said solemnly. It's just a letter. Why are you so serious? The soldier couldn't help but mutter to himself. Chapter 310 Commission. There are some things I can't say now. When you meet the Legion Commander later, you will know what's going on. Yunfan thought for a while and picked up the letter that he had torn up and thrown away. Yunfan led the soldier to the direction of the military department and soon arrived at the Legion headquarters. This is a military stronghold. No outsiders are allowed to wait here. Several soldiers in armor in front of the military department stopped Yunfan and the soldier. I'm Viscount Dante, the Lieutenant General of the Western Legion. I have something to ask the Legion Commander. Yunfan took out his identity card while speaking and showed it to the armored soldier. Lieutenant General, please wait a moment while I go in and report first. The soldier saw the identity token handed over by Yunfan and saluted him respectfully. Yunfan nodded slightly and said nothing. After a while, the soldier came out of the Legion headquarters and said, Lieutenant General, please follow me. Viscount Dante, I don't know what you want to see me for, Prescottfield said in a very calm tone, and it seemed that he had come out of his anger. That's right, Commander. I just received a letter. Yunfan glanced at Prescottfield and said, this letter was sent to me by someone from Kuska. Yunfan said as he glanced at the soldier who delivered the letter to him. Where is the letter? When Prescottfield heard what Yunfan said, Kuska's emotions fluctuated a bit. Yunfan handed the torn letter to Prescottfield. Prescottfield saw that the letter had been torn into pieces, frowned slightly, and then pieced the letter together. Just after reading the contents of the letter, his face became even uglier. He turned his head and stared at the soldier who delivered the letter to Yunfan. Did this letter pass through your hands? Where is the person who gave you the letter? Commander, I don't know where that person is. The person was dressed in black. After giving me the letter and a bag of gold coins as a reward, he disappeared into the crowd. The soldier who delivered the letter said with a sad face. He now understood that he seemed to have committed something serious. If he had known that things were developed to this point, he would never accept the task of delivering the letter. I just want to earn some extra money. Okay, you can leave here. Prescott Field waved his hand at the soldier who delivered the letter and said expressionlessly, Viscount Dante, there are some things I want you to tell me. Prescott Field said as he walked out the door. I wonder what the commander wants to know. We'll talk about it later. Prescott Field said in a very calm tone. Yunfan paused for a moment and followed closely behind Prescott Field. Soon the two of them walked to the military's observation tower, which can be said to be the highest place in the entire city of Babylon, where you can overlook almost everything in the entire city of Babylon. The observation tower is very high, and the two people walked up the winding stairs for a long time before finally reaching the top. There is an empty observation deck at the top, and the wind from the high altitude poured in here, blowing my cheeks a little painful. Prescott Field looked into the distance quietly, without saying a word. I wonder what the commander's purpose is for asking me to come to the observation tower. Yunfan asked Prescott Field, who had stopped. To be honest, I have a lot of questions in my heart. I'm very curious about how you discovered their secrets. Commander, this involves my personal special ability, so it's not easy to reveal it to you. Yunfan responded. Being able to predict the enemy's future is indeed a very remarkable ability. Prescott Field nodded slightly, wondering if he was bothered by Yunfan's special ability. Until now, I still can't believe it. Jekasperu is actually the enemy I've been thinking about all the time. He has been lurking around me for so long. I really don't know how many people have been won over by him. I think you should know how much harm a traitor can cause in the team, and there may be more than one traitor. Prescott Field said faintly. Did the commander call me here just to tell you these things? Yunfan said. I'm not just telling you these things. I hope I can get your help. Prescott Field said with his eyes narrowed slightly. Commander, you think too highly of me. I'm just a small 5th level professional. I may be considered a small master outside, but I'm just an ant in front of you, Commander. Yunfan had a bitter smile on his face. Viscount Dante, don't underestimate yourself. Your true strength is definitely not just what you show. Otherwise you would have died when facing that housework. Besides, I don't want you to do anything dangerous. I just want you to help me dig out those traitors. Prescott Field glanced at Yunfan and continued, with your ability to dig out those rats. To be honest, you think too highly of me, Legion Commander. Yunfan wanted to explain something else. To be honest, he really didn't want to wade into this muddy water. Viscount Dante, do you think you can still stay out of the world now? You have disrupted his layout. I'm afraid that the person that guy hates the most is not me but you. Prescott Field said in a very calm tone, and Viscount Dante, I'm afraid only your special ability can quickly find those people. Prescott Field then looked at Yunfan meaningfully, and that look seemed to contain a lot of information. Yunfan felt that he was about to be seen through, as if all his secrets were discovered in this look. What the hell is going on? I just want to be a quiet handsome man. Why is it so difficult? Yunfan couldn't help but sigh deeply. He finally knew what it meant to be helpless. Okay, but I hope that the leader of the circle can send some people to support me. Don't worry, I will arrange this matter myself. Prescott Field said with a cold tone and a terrifying light in his eyes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311 Magic Cannon. Yunfan stood in the yard. On his left and right stood a row of Legion guards in uniform. These people were extraordinary. Although they were not high-ranking officials, they were Prescott Field's direct descendants. Their guards raised their armor high and stood upright at the edge of Yunfan without moving. They stood there like sculptures with a sense of dignity without anger. Prescott Field, who stood next to Yunfan, had an even more awe-inspiring temperament. Get ready to go. I think you already know the importance of this mission. It is related to the safety of our Western Legion. I hope you will fully cooperate with Viscount Dante. Otherwise, you will be subject to military law. Prescott Field said without anger. for the glory of the Western Legion. A row of guards, each of them exuded a very powerful aura, probably at least a 6th level master. The divine light in their eyes was firm, and their eyes looked at their Legion leader Prescott Field like swords. Viscount Dante, everything depends on you. Prescott Field spoke without any emotion. At this moment, Prescott Field was not the Legion commander that Yunfan had seen. Perhaps this was his true face, majestic, cold and arrogant, a general commanding thousands of troops. I can only say that I have tried my best. Although I have some means, I cannot guarantee that I can find everyone. Yunfan said in a flat tone. I'm still very confident in your means. Even that guy was found by you. Prescott Field had learned about it through the reports of his subordinates. He was indeed quite surprised. Even he, Prescott Field, and even the Legion cadres had not realized the true identity of that guy. Why could Yunfan find it out? It seems that I'm really regressing as I grow older. Now I actually want to rely on a Viscount. Prescott Field couldn't help but laugh at himself. After Prescott Field made a request to him, Yunfan released all the 10 shadow demons he had signed a contract with. These shadow demons came and went without a trace. Originally, unless they reached the 8th level, there was a small chance of discovery. With its pervasive characteristics, Yunfan quickly found more than a dozen traitors hidden in the Legion. Prescott Field naturally had no mercy on these traitors. He arrested one when he met one. Although these traitors kept denying it at the beginning, Yunfan soon found evidence and finally had to plead guilty unwillingly. Prescott Field's face was very ugly. He never thought that so many senior officials of the Western Legion had been corrupted. If it took a while, I'm afraid that even the Legion commander himself would be stripped of his power. After more than a month of rectification, the problems within the Western Legion have been temporarily resolved, and Yunfan returned to his fiefdom, Grom on the West Coast. After more than a month of development, West Coast Grom has completely changed. Adventurer guilds and mercenary guilds have set up branches in West Coast Grom, which proves that these organizations have recognized West Coast Grom. The entire city has reached 50,000 residents, and even many adventurers and professionals have begun to settle here. However, Yunfan is indeed a little dissatisfied with the current development, because he has a feeling that the war is about to come. Elders, I wonder if you can build things according to this drawing. Yunfan handed the magic crystal gun paper he designed to the dwarf blacksmith. After seeing the magic crystal gun paper designed by Yunfan, the dwarf blacksmith exclaimed in disbelief, asking questions and asking questions, full of endless curiosity. The magic crystal cannon actually existed a long time ago, but it was lost with the passage of time. Yunfan didn't know what the difference was between the magic crystal cannon he designed and the legendary magic crystal cannon, but the 6 powers should not be bad. My Lord Viscount, did you design this magic crystal cannon yourself? God of the Dwarves, my Lord Viscount is indeed a great divine craftsman. Don't worry, we promise to complete the task and build the magic crystal cannon as soon as possible. The dwarf craftsmen patted their chests and said, no matter what materials are missing, just tell the housekeeper. Yunfan said firmly, don't worry, we will definitely not let you down. Masters, I wonder how the Daolo is being repaired. Yunfan thought of the shadow dagger in his hand that was scrapped, and couldn't help asking. Divine Sword Daolo, the repair work has been basically completed. Although it cannot restore the previous glory, according to the level on the continent, it has reached the 10th order god level. If you want to upgrade the level again, you must find some divine materials. A dwarf craftsman said. In this case, I will take Daolo back and set up a teleportation array in the dwarf tribe. Yunfan nodded slightly and said, set up a teleportation array? The dwarf craftsman looked at Yunfan in disbelief. My Lord Viscount, you are actually a space magician. I guess so. The dwarf settlement. Yunfan had just arrived at the dwarf gathering place when he was surrounded by a group of dwarves. It seemed that something bad had happened, and they kept chattering. Yunfan felt dizzy for a while, and quickly stopped the dwarves from shouting, don't talk nonsense one by one. What happened? It's like this, my Lord Viscount. Today we went to the mountains to collect ore as usual, but who knew that a group of dark elves suddenly came and took all our people away. One of the older dwarves said. Dark elves. I have never heard of the existence of dark elves before. Yunfan frowned slightly. Judging from the name alone, these elves are not good things. In fact, they are indeed not good things. It is said that they used to be elves in the forest and believed in the forest goddess, but later they could not resist the temptation of darkness and degenerated into believers of darkness. We don't know where they came from. Forget it. Let's not worry about where they came from now. Do you know where they have imprisoned your people? Yunfan asked directly. Yes. Several dwarves responded hurriedly. Do you know the strength of these dark elves? Yunfan continued to ask. Only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. Yunfan can't fight a battle without confidence. Chapter 312 Dark Elves. We are not very clear about this, but the chief and the deputy chief have been captured by them. A dwarf responded. It seems that the strength of these dark elves is not simple. Zenith himself is a hill dwarf, and his strength should not be underestimated. How about this? You send someone to take me to see first. The dwarves hesitated. Yunfan was not angry about the dwarves' hesitation. It is the instinct of every creature to be afraid when encountering danger. It is also human nature for these dwarves to be afraid. I know where they asked me to go. A dwarf volunteered. Yunfan nodded to the dwarf. Don't worry, I will bring you back safely. After a series of conversations, Yunfan learned from the dwarf's words that the dwarf who took Yunfan to find the dark elf's nest was called Hamlet. Lord Viscount Dante, the dark elf's lair is ahead. If we go any further, we are likely to be discovered. Yunfan nodded and released his contracted shadow demons. Under Yunfan's guidance, the shadow demons swam towards the dark elf's lair. According to the exploration of his shadow demons, Yunfan found that there were nearly 100 dark elves, all in order, and the dark elves had a complete range of arms, and were very reasonably matched. This shows that this wave of dark elves must come from a big force, not just random soldiers, which is definitely a force that cannot be ignored. The dwarves were imprisoned in the depths of the lair. If they wanted to rescue these imprisoned dwarves, they had to go deep into the dark elves' lair. Obviously, it was impossible to get rid of these dark elves, and the strength of these dark elves was not weak, which made Yunfan understand that this crisis was indeed difficult to overcome. It would be great if we could find the help of the forest elves. As traitors, the dark elves and the forest elves are like water and fire. Yunfan sighed and slowly told the facts. Lord Viscount Dante, what should we do now? The dwarf who followed Yunfan asked anxiously. He was really worried about his people now. I don't know how the chieftains are doing now. Don't worry, these dark elves just arrested the chieftains and imprisoned them. They have no intention of killing them for the time being. If I'm not mistaken, they want you dwarfs to collect or forge weapons for them. Yunfan analyzed the situation based on what his shadow demon observed. Are the chieftains really not in danger? The dwarf who led Yunfan said in disbelief. I have a special normal way to spy on the situation in the dark elf nest clearly. Yunfan explained. At this time, the two dark elves who were on sentry duty outside seemed to have discovered something and came to patrol in the direction of Yunfan and his group. The dwarf who led the way for Yunfan suddenly became flustered and whispered, "Oh no, something happened. They are coming. I'm afraid they will find us soon." Yunfan took out his shadow dagger directly from the space ring. Although the shadow dagger was on the verge of collapse, Yunfan did not have any other handy weapons, so he had to make do with it. At this time, Yunfan first explained to the dwarf next to him. Yunfan used the shadow demon to spy on the dark elves and found that the other party was not far away from them, so he said to the dwarf next to him, I think at this time, we should block the narrow road first. By now, Yunfan was basically certain that these dark elves should have discovered their existence. Although this situation was somewhat disadvantageous to him, Yunfan's small team could not cause him much harm, so he told the dwarf beside him, if there is a battle later, you just need to protect your life, and I will take care of the rest. Yunfan used his mental power to communicate with the undead world, and with a thought, he instantly summoned more than 10 alloy skeleton warriors from his undead world. These skeleton warriors have completely changed their appearance, like a knight, giving people a solemn feeling. The sudden appearance of these skeleton warriors made the dwarf beside Yunfan a little overwhelmed, stunned, and couldn't figure out where these armored warriors suddenly appeared from. Oh my god, where did these armored warriors come from? Could they be sent by the dwarf god to save us? The dwarf beside Yunfan exclaimed. They are all skeleton warriors I summoned. Yunfan explained casually. Skeleton warriors? How is this possible? The dwarf exclaimed in disbelief. Nothing is impossible. Yunfan ignored the dwarf. Because just now, many dark elves had come out of their nests, and each of them was ready with weapons. They came to the patrolling dark elves, and had a long conversation with the patrolling dark elves. 100 or so dark elves came with weapons, and killed them in a mighty manner. The warriors took the lead, followed by the dark elf hunters and mages. I can basically be sure that they have discovered us. Yunfan said to himself coldly, and then took out 3 magic guns from the space ring, and handed one to the dwarf next to him. Magic gun, I think you should be able to use it. My lord Viscount, I can use this thing. Yunfan held a magic gun in one hand and shot at the dark elves quickly. The sudden change made the dark elves a little confused. Because this group of dark elves have been living underground, they don't know the characteristics of the magic gun invented by Yunfan. They became live targets for a while, and soon many dark elves were injured by the magic bullets, and lost their ability to fight. Then the leading dark elf said something to her subordinates, and then the dark elf said. Yunfan had seen in the library of the academy that the dark elves betrayed their original beliefs, and were spurned by the forest god. They could only survive underground. As time passed, they forgot their original language, and began to use the underground language. Yunfan did not understand the underground language, so naturally he could not know what they were saying. Chapter 313 Dark Spider. Although these dark elves had already hidden behind the tree, they were useless to Yunfan, who had the shadow demon. Yunfan fired with both hands, which made these dark elves miserable. What Yunfan didn't expect was that the dwarf following him was also a sharpshooter. Although he didn't hit the target every time he shot, he still hit 70% or 80% of the target. A dark elf who hadn't had time to dodge was pierced through by the huge impact of the magic bullet and flew backwards. One of them was shot in the head by Yunfan's magic gun. The dwarf was not weaker than the dark elves. His chest was pierced by the magic bullet, and he was nailed to the thick tree. The first batch of dark elves who came over paid the price of several tragic deaths, and the ones behind them became much more cautious. First, the warriors of their own tribe approached, and then the magicians cast magic on them, greatly increasing the defense of the warriors in front. At this time, the magic guns in the hands of Yunfan and the dwarf kept shooting over the woods. However, when Yunfan's magic bullets were fired, the archers among the dark elves also shot arrows one after another. Rows of arrows flew across the sky and fell towards where Yunfan was standing. However, because the range of the crossbows was short, far less than the range of Yunfan's magic gun, the dark elves did not judge correctly. The arrows fell in front of Yunfan in rows, and did not cause any harm to Yunfan and his men. Several dark warriors lost their lives. With the chirping words, the dark elves shouted and raised their weapons, and rushed over in big strides. Look at the power of my newly researched magic bullets. Yunfan had no expression on his face, and suddenly took out a gun shaped like the AK-47 on Earth from his space ring. This weapon was the magic gun Point K-47 he made, based on the Point K-47 on Earth, which had the power to shoot magic bullets continuously. The magic gun AK-47 in Yunfan's hand, under Yunfan's control, ejected a stream of magic bullets, and the power of each magic bullet was more than twice that of the original magic gun bullets. The extremely powerful magic fluctuations came from the magic gun in his hand, AK-47. Some bullets suddenly burned in the air, while some bullets condensed into ice in the air. They fell into the middle of the dark elves and burst into fierce sparks and freezing effects. A dozen dark elves were splashed by the sparks and their bodies were on fire. 2 of them did not have time to put out the flames, and were directly engulfed by the spreading flames. Another 10 were directly frozen into ice crystals. Yunfan was really surprised. He did not expect that the magic gun AK-47 he created was so powerful. The dwarves beside Yunfan were suddenly scared, and fear spread among the dark elves. They had lost the courage to hostile Yunfan. The leading dark elf actually raised the white flag. Yunfan was not a murderer. If the dwarves were not locked up here for no reason by these dark elves, he would not have come here. Although Yunfan stopped shooting the magic gun AK-47, he did not intend to put the magic gun away. The reputation of the dark elves on the mainland is really too bad. But before Yunfan came to the dark elves, those dark elves who had been kneeling on the ground begging for mercy suddenly stood up and cut their wrists almost at the same time, and blood spurted out instantly. Yunfan was shocked by the performance of the dark elves. What is this? Dark sacrifice. Sakadan's voice suddenly sounded in Yunfan's heart. Hu 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 hu. The surrounding temperature dropped sharply, and endless darkness began to descend, and even darkness floated down. The terrifying momentum instantly spread, and the blood instantly condensed together, and a huge monster appeared in front of Yunfan. What the hell is this? Yunfan said. The dark elves sacrificed a huge, extremely black 8-legged spider. The two huge wings of the spider were fully spread out, covering the sky and the sun. The dwarf was extremely panicked. Dark spider. It's a dark spider. Lord Viscount, I'm afraid we are doomed this time. Dark spider? Yunfan was a little puzzled. To be honest, he had never heard of the dark spider. The dwarf even lost the will to resist. Since they were born, they have heard ancient legends about the fall of the dark elves. He didn't know how terrible the dark spider was. I want you two to die. The huge spider spread its wings and looked down. Its red pupils were full of madness. It suddenly opened its bloody mouth. Endless and cold black wind blew, and the black wind even blew the ground to peel off. Some small branches were even blown off. A large amount of black wind soon enveloped the surroundings. The spider crawled slowly, and its huge compound eyes looked down at Yunfan. Its innate pride made it not take the human boy in front of it seriously at all. It was the messenger of the god of darkness. Yunfan hummed softly, and the fighting spirit in his body began to circulate repeatedly. The breath in his chest cavity burst out through his nose, forming two airflows visible to the naked eye. His whole body was faintly glowing with green light, and a powerful breath naturally emanated. The dark spider not far away was startled. It felt a terrifying breath from the human in the distance that was no less than its own. He was a 6th level magic beast blessed by the god of darkness, and ordinary 7th level magic beasts were no match for him. 6th level magic beast. My fighting spirit has improved a lot recently, so I'll practice with you. Yunfan swooped over a distance of dozens of meters, and the magic gun in his hand was put into the space ring. Then he took out the divine sword Daoluo that the dwarf had repaired for him. The divine sword Daoluo turned into a misty green sword light and stabbed the spider. The two huge sharp feet on the chest and abdomen of the dark spider bent directly and grabbed Yunfan. Swish, swish, swish. The sword flashed, piercing the dark spider's body every time. The dark spider only avoided the 3 swords that stabbed at its vital points, but Yunfan's other swords directly cut off its sharp legs. The dark spider felt fear for the first time, especially the heavy sword that gave him a feeling of being invincible. This feeling was like facing his own god, the god of darkness. Human, how could you have a divine weapon in your hand? Yunfan did not answer, but then a strange whimpering sound was heard. It was the sound of Yunfan's Daoluo cutting through the air. It instantly cut through the dark spider's chest, directly leaving a huge wound nearly half a foot long. The muscles rolled out of the wound, and the deep red blood spurted out directly. Chapter 314 Sword Practice. The dark spider was shocked. How could this boy be so powerful? Yunfan was no longer the naive novice he was when he first started. His long-term battles with monsters made him very experienced and very clever in using his skills. The demon sealing sword technique is divided into 9 styles, each of which has different functions. The more familiar you are with the moves of the demon sealing sword technique, the more you feel the magic of this sword move. Each move is continuous, with both attack and defense. Even the attack moves contain defense. Its profoundness makes Yunfan amazed and obsessed. It is indeed a move created by the sword god. Although he has not even achieved small success now, like the sword god has already reached the realm of perfection, he still feels that there is room for improvement in swordsmanship. The more he thinks about it, the more artistic conception he has. The move of demon traveling the world should be so casual and free from the heart. As the dark spider retreated step by step, Yunfan occasionally realized something about his swordsmanship. At this time, the dark spider felt endless pressure. It didn't dare to take on Yunfan's swordsman easily. In the kingdom of the god of darkness, it was the weakest. It originally thought that, after coming to the low-level plane, it could get along well. Who knew that it would encounter Yunfan, a pervert, as soon as it appeared in this world? Fear and anger intertwined together. How could the dark spider not see that this human was using it to practice swordsmanship? It already had many wounds on its body, although none of them were fatal. But the boy in front of it didn't even have a single wound on his body. The terrifying boy in front of it made it tremble. At the same time, it also understood that it might die at the hands of this human boy. Was he going to die at the hands of this 5th level boy? When fear turned into despair, then it was fearlessness. Anyway, he was going to die, so what was he afraid of? But even if he died, he had to make the other party lose a layer of skin. Hiss. The dark spider suddenly raised its head and let out a deafening roar. This was a sad, angry, unwilling, and most crazy roar that contained death. Its eyes were full of determination. Even if he was going to die, he would drag Yunfan to take the blame. Hiss. Sharp and piercing. Yunfan heard the crazy roar of grief and anger from the dark spider in front of him, and understood the psychology of the dark spider. He immediately increased the frequency of dancing with the sword. He didn't want to capsize in the gutter. Since you want to die, then die. Bang. Yunfan instantly turned into a gust of wind and approached the dark spider, sealing the demon sword. The world is sealed. Just when Yunfan's Daoluo sword just touched the dark spider suddenly exploded and the dark poison splashed out. Fortunately, Yunfan had already been alert and was not splashed by the incomparably dark poison. However, the place where he was originally standing had already left a deep pit in the dark poison. Fuck, this is simply a terrorist's human bomb. If I hadn't been alert just now, I'm afraid it would have become a pile of stagnant water now. The dark elves are really terrifying. They can actually summon such a thing. Yunfan looked frightened. The dwarf beside him was not so lucky. The black poison splashed on his left arm, and soon his arm was corroded. Yunfan hurriedly took out a bottle of antidote and a bottle of purification potion from his space ring. After taking the antidote and purification potions, the dwarf finally escaped death. The spider's vertical pupils became dull, and a big hole had exploded on his head. Then its huge body fell directly to the ground, shaking the earth. Black blood gurgled out, and a small black river appeared on the ground. Well. Yunfan looked at the huge spider corpse, observed the wound, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. It looks like it's dead, and can't die anymore. Damn human, where are you from? Why are you killing my people? At this time, a tempting voice suddenly came from a distance. Yunfan couldn't help but look in that direction, and found a gorgeous dark elf standing not far away. Yunfan couldn't help but sneer. You captured my dwarf men, and you ask me where I came from? Are you the Viscount Dante that the dwarves mentioned? The flamboyant dark elf seemed to have thought of something, and his face changed slightly. I didn't expect that what these dwarves said was true. They actually entered the human society and became the subordinates of a noble. Even if you are a human noble, so what? These forests are not your human territory. Leave here obediently now. I can pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, what can I do? Yunfan smiled coldly. How about I give you a choice? What? Hand over all my men. I can pretend that nothing happened. Human, we just don't want to cause unnecessary trouble. Are you sure you want to be enemies with our dark elves? The flamboyant dark elf said coldly. I have no interest in being enemies with you dark elves, but if you provoke me, don't blame me for being cruel. Yunfan said in a cold tone. In that case, let's see who's the real deal. The flamboyant dark elf said viciously, and then she whistled at a nest. Then, twice as many people as the previous wave came out of its nest, and there was even a dark elf horned eagle knight in the team. I'm giving you one last chance now, human, leave here obediently. The flamboyant dark elf said to Yunfan indifferently. No, there must be something wrong here. Ji Yunfan, seeing these dark elves so determined, couldn't help but mutter in his heart. What is their purpose in capturing dwarves? Even for these, the dwarves they captured, did not hesitate to go to war with themselves. And where did this dark elf team come from? Ji Yunfan had questions one after another in his mind. Do you think you are invincible, just because you solved the dark spider? The human world is not as simple as you think. These dark elves still have some concerns about Ji Yunfan's identity. Ji Yunfan, this dark elf is probably not simple. Sakadan's voice sounded again in Ji Yunfan's heart. Not simple, it's really not simple. I haven't seen any dark elves living on land in the literature. Ji Yunfan said. Chapter 315, Divine Clone. Ji Yunfan, that's not what I'm talking about, because I feel the breath of a god on this dark elf. If I'm not mistaken, this guy should be a substitute for a god. Sakadan said. You mean this guy is a god? Ji Yunfan was shocked by what Sakadan said. This is not fun. And this guy's level is not weaker than before I was damaged. Sakadan continued. Do you mean that the other party is a middle level god? Back then, I had reached the peak of middle level god, and this guy's body might be able to beat a high level god. So I suggest you don't confront this guy head on. Who knows if she has any extraordinary means in her hands? Do you mean that I should give up my men? Ji Yunfan said in a low voice. Viscount Dante. Don't worry about me, go first. Ji Yunfan said. The dwarf on the side also struggled to sit up, looking at Ji Yunfan tiredly. But, you can't help me at all if you stay here, and it will distract me. Ji Yunfan said in a deep voice. The dwarf next to Ji Yunfan hesitated for a moment and finally nodded. At this time, the flamboyant dark elf suddenly flew up. Her aura exploded at this moment, and the dark power in her body was constantly released. When it spread outward, even the space seemed to be distorted, and it could be clearly felt from a long distance. When the strange aura roared past, all the surrounding monsters noticed it, and trembled one by one. The dark elf shook his body, with a cold light in his eyes, and suddenly rushed towards Ji Yunfan. At this time, it was drizzling in the sky, thunder rumbled, and then lightning flashed across the sky, making the sky and the earth flicker. Loud noises echoed, and bean-sized raindrops kept falling on the ground, making a rustling sound. From a distance, the whole world was shrouded in heavy rain, blurry, and breeding an endless killing momentum. On the ground, Ji Yunfan was more solemn than ever before. The fighting spirit in his body was bursting out with all its strength. He stomped the ground hard and jumped up immediately. Like a sharp arrow shot from a bow, he rushed towards the dark elf. Destruction. The dark elf said in a low voice. At the same time, a dark black light column shot towards Ji Yunfan. The terrifying momentum seemed to blend with the rain, making the surroundings even colder. In Ji Yunfan's ears, there were bursts of sonic booms. You can never beat me. I have already given you a chance, but you don't know how to cherish it. The dark elf's eyes flashed with murderous intent. You should know that I have consumed a lot of soul power to deal with you. Demon Sealing Sword Technique. One sword to kill evil. Ji Yunfan held the Daoluo sword. The moment his left hand was raised, a cyan light flashed, and a powerful force broke out at this moment. Divine Sword Daoluo, Sealing Demon Sword Technique. Boy, you actually know how to use the Sealing Demon Sword Technique, and have his sword. It seems that you are the heir of the immortal sword god. The flamboyant dark elf's face became ferocious after seeing Ji Yunfan use the Sealing Demon Sword Technique. It seems that this dark elf should have an unforgettable hatred with the sword god. In that case, you can die. Ji Yunfan's eyes were filled with evil, and his body did not stop at all. He rushed forward and raised his left hand suddenly. The strength of the dark elf was too strong. The Sealing Demon Sword Technique could not even cut through the dark elf's defense shield. The dark elf smiled coldly and gathered divine power in both hands, so that when the Daoluo sword fell, it instantly grabbed the blade. The Daoluo sword was suspended in the air, but could not fall. The dark elf frowned slightly and pulled hard. Ji Yunfan's hand was like an iron clamp, tightly holding the handle of the Daoluo sword. When Ji Yunfan wanted to take back the Daoluo sword, he couldn't shake it at all. This scene immediately changed Ji Yunfan's face. When he looked up, he saw the dark elf approaching him, with madness in his eyes. Ji Yunfan had never shown this kind of madness before. Space tier. Ji Yunfan muttered viciously. A strong spatial fluctuation was instantly felt by the dark elf. His heart suddenly trembled, and several dark protective lights appeared all over his body. Zeduo let go of Daoluo without any hesitation, and his body suddenly retreated. He was fast, but Ji Yunfan was faster. The control of the Daoluo sword returned to his hands. Ji Yunfan suddenly turned around and slashed the Daoluo sword out again. A dark green light, like lightning across the sky, appeared directly in front of the dark elf. In an instant, he approached the dark elf and directly penetrated the protective shield outside the dark elf's body. When the sound of clicking echoed, those protective shields actually shattered. Ji Yunfan did not expect that this sword mixed with his own spatial power would have such a powerful force. Ji Yunfan naturally took advantage of the victory and pursued the dark elf with the Daoluo sword in his hand. The Daoluo sword in Ji Yunfan's hand was unstoppable, as if it could penetrate everything in an instant. At this moment, it seemed that Ji Yunfan's fighting spirit had reached its peak, and his sword had exceeded his normal level for a lifetime. At this moment, unexpectedly, there was a very strong spatial fluctuation that erupted from Ji Yunfan's other palm, causing the dark elf to retreat and pause suddenly. Before he could react, the Daoluo sword had already slashed her chest. The powerful force, through the Daoluo sword, was directly transmitted to the dark elf, and the dark elf fell more than 10 meters away like a kite that was a-flying. If it weren't for the armor on her chest, this sword would probably have penetrated her chest. Boundless anger burned in the heart of the dark elf. You know, he is the incarnation of a great god, but he was hurt by a person who regarded himself as an ant. This is simply unforgivable. Humble mortal, you have completely angered me. I will kill you and make you a puppet to be driven by me forever. Really? I'm very curious about your identity now. Are you the incarnation of a god or a fallen god? Ji Yunfan asked lightly. I didn't expect you to know so much. It seems that your identity is probably not simple. The dark elf seemed a little surprised, but soon she frowned again. No, you are really special. I actually feel divinity in you. Are you also the incarnation of a god? The dark elf's words have answered Ji Yunfan's question, but after hearing the other party's answer, Ji Yunfan is even more helpless. If it was just a fallen god, it would be better. Now I'm afraid that I have offended a real god. Chapter 316 Demon. No, the divinity in you is too weak. Are you a god? The spokesperson in this world? The dark elf said to himself, are you the spokesperson of the sword god in the mortal world? Ji Yunfan suddenly had an idea, and then raised his head and said, yes, I'm the spokesperson of the sword god in the mortal world. If you know what's good for you, release my people now. Do you know what the relationship between me and the sword god is? You actually want to threaten me in his name? After seeing Ji Yunfan's words, the dark elf laughed first, and then became extremely ferocious. It was he who locked me in the seal that will never see the light of day. He and I have an irreconcilable hatred. Since you are his spokesperson and successor in the mortal world, I will kill you first as interest. The dark elf's body slowly expanded, and in the blink of an eye it turned into a monster with 2 wings on its back. The appearance of the monster reminded Ji Yunfan of the legendary demon on Earth. Then the monster flew up, and the violent airflow caused by the high-speed dive caused vibrations. This is the Hell Demon. What? Ji Yunfan raised his head involuntarily. In the hazy mist, there was a huge monster looking down at him, and at the same time, there were huge bone wings vaguely appearing, and it was swooping down at this moment. The endless murderous intent contained in the red vertical pupils of the Hell Demon frightened Ji Yunfan, and also made him understand. This swooping monster wanted to kill him, and it seemed to hate him to the bone. Ji Yunfan couldn't help but smile bitterly and shook his head. It seems that his plan of taking advantage of the power of the tiger has failed. Not only did he not borrow the power of the tiger, but he also angered the other party. The momentum of the other party has far exceeded the range he can bear. The saint level is probably just this power. No, run. Ji Yunfan turned around and ran, but when he was about to run, he found that his speed was far less than the speed of this monster. Seeing that the monster was about to pounce on him, Yunfan frantically circulated the Dao Ki in his body, bursting out with all his strength, and directly chopped at the monster above, while also shouting anxiously, "Sister, listen to me, we have no grudges, right? The sword god you want to deal with has nothing to do with me. I just found this sword at a market and bought it." Yunfan couldn't care about much now. The sound spread quickly, but the speed of the sound transmission was not as fast as the speed of the monster demon above. Dang dang dang. Yunfan's Daolo divine sword slashed at the demon's body frantically, and every collision sparked sparks. Yunfan couldn't help cursing. Damn, why is the body of this thing as hard as a divine weapon? You must know that the Daolo divine sword in Yunfan's hand is very sharp. Even if it is a holy weapon, Yunfan has a certain degree of confidence in cutting it off. It can't cause much damage to this monster. Yunfan immediately understood this when the Daolo divine sword slashed at the demon. The huge scale armored bone wings above instantly cut through the air and slashed at Yunfan's Daolo sword. Yunfan was blown away for a long distance, and he stood up from the ground tremblingly. Doesn't this thing have any weaknesses? Where did you die, Sakadin? Yunfan asked. Die. The red eyes of the swooping demon stared at Yunfan like a madman. Flash. Yunfan held the two swords in both hands and dodged the space magic base in his body at the same time. The sword energy was like water, welcoming the claws of the demon. Layers of magic sealing sword techniques were resisted one after another, making the magic sealing power of the resistance continuous, as if layers of silk were entangled and bound. Yunfan had a feeling that, even if the demon in front of him was a saint-level strongman, it would be difficult to kill it. I didn't expect to see the demon clone here. Sakadin's voice sounded again, and his tone was full of incredible meaning. Bang! The huge bone wing directly crushed the Daolo sword. The strong impact made Yunfan feel that both wrists were dislocated immediately. Then the edge of the blood-colored bone wing, as sharp as a knife, directly chopped on the body that was trying to dodge. Yunfan's space magic flashed and was completed at this moment. Yunfan disappeared instantly and appeared 100 meters away a moment later. Although he had flashed away just now, Yunfan was still seriously injured in the hard fight. Blood splattered, and the left hand holding the Daolo sword was thrown away directly. Yunfan's whole body hit the ground, and a human-shaped pit was knocked out on the ground. Yunfan spurted out a mouthful of blood. Why is this thing so terrifying? Even in the continent of gods, demons are an extremely powerful race. There are few gods of other races who can compete with them. But fortunately, there are not too many of them, and they are still honest in the continent of gods. Sakadin said. Then can you tell me what the weakness of this thing is? Yunfan's face was extremely pale. There are actually many types of demons. I can't be sure which kind of demon I'm in front of me. Fuck. Yunfan couldn't help but curse inwardly. Huh. The demon raised its wings again, ready to swing at Yunfan again. This can't go on any longer. Yunfan gritted his teeth and rushed forward, aiming at the demon's loophole. He was like a flea and jumped behind the demon in an instant. The fighting spirit in his body turned to the extreme, and his body was like a clever little bird about to flee out. Boy, you are a small 5th level professional, and you want to escape from here. Die. A strong wind blew, and the sky and the earth were dark for a while. Yunfan couldn't help but look back and saw a huge black twisted phantom sweeping over. It was the demon's tail. These blood-red giant tails like lizards rushed over in an instant, and the speed of the whip was faster than the speed of the blood-colored bone wings, and it was 3 times more powerful. The air exploded wherever it passed, and the tough rocks burst apart. The huge black shadow directly enveloped Yunfan. Yunfan's speed was not enough to escape the whipping, so he could only hold the Daolo sword tightly to withstand it. At the same time, not far from here, an old man dressed as an ordinary person seemed to sense something and frowned slightly. He seemed to have thought of something, and then ran towards the direction where Yunfan was. Yunfan helplessly found that he was in a position to be beaten. He originally thought that he could face any situation, but now it seems that he still overestimated himself. Chapter 317 Sword comes. The huge demon in the void, with its scaly bone wings spread out, seemed to cover the entire earth. and below him, Yunfan was flying with blood all over his body, and at the same time, the demon had already whipped him down as fast as lightning. Yunfan's eyes were red, and he groaned in pain. "You beast, you are looking for death." At this critical moment, a deep and angry voice suddenly came from a distance. Yunfan couldn't help but look in the direction of the voice, and saw an old man with silver hair, slashing with anger, and swung his sword fiercely. Whoosh! A dazzling golden sword light flew out directly, which was more than 100 feet long, and was even slightly larger than the demon. It directly crossed the sky, and slashed at the demon. Crackling! The tail of the demon in the distance whipped dozens of times in an instant, and the whole earth was shaking under this strong attack, and a large amount of rubble flew away. Before Yunfan's space magic was completed, he was smashed to the ground by this huge tail. Yunfan felt that all his bones were broken. But at the same time, he was also very curious about who this old man from afar was. Judging from the momentum of the other party, the old man's strength was not lower than that of the wine saint. It seems that the man in front of him should also be a saint, but I don't know which of the 10 winners he is, or a saint who lives in seclusion. Perhaps because of his hatred for the sword god, this demon actually wanted to withstand the old man's attack, and give Yunfan a fatal blow. No, I must escape this disaster. When I think of my wonderful life and bright future on the mainland, I have the opportunity to control my destiny, and embark on the road to becoming a god. I have practiced until now. Everything has just begun. I really don't want to give up. I'm a reborn person. I will definitely do it. Yunfan tried his best to circulate the fighting spirit in his body. Perhaps because of his strong desire to survive, the seedling of the world tree actually trembled at this moment, and then a green energy circulated throughout his body along his veins. Faster, faster, faster. Yunfan's speed increased by more than double in an instant. Yunfan even heard the whistling sound of the wind around him. Whoosh! Yunfan's figure was also whistling, and his speed was incredibly increased by one step, instantly exceeding the attack range of the demon. Bang! The demon's giant tail whipped fiercely, brushing Yunfan's cheek, and whipping on the thick ground. Suddenly, the whole earth trembled, a large number of rocks collapsed, dust flew, and gravel and dust flew. "You, a little guy, actually dodged it?" The demon roared. "You luckily dodged it once. Can you still dodge it a second time? There is an insurmountable gap between the two of us. You are still far from me." Rumble. The giant tail whipped again. At this moment, Yunfan was like a small boat in the sea, and he actually changed his position in this violent twitching. Yunfan, based on the steps studied by the 5 element and 8 trigrams in his previous life, also broke through in an instant. "Boy, how come I feel the power of rules in you? This is a power that can only be mastered above the saint level." The demon howled crazily, as if he couldn't believe his eyes at all. It was a demon that had cultivated for 10,000 years to reach the upper level of a god, and was many times stronger than ordinary gods. Although he was only a clone now, and couldn't even exert 1% of his own strength, it would be too easy for him to kill a human boy who hadn't even reached the saint level. But now he couldn't do it. "Evil creature, didn't I ask you to stop?" The silver-haired old man had come to the front of the demon at this moment, holding a long sword, and facing the demon from a distance. "You asked me to stop, so I have to stop. Who do you think you are?" The bloody demon stopped in midair, roaring viciously. Bang bang bang. Then the demon's huge tail whipped wildly, and the whole earth was shaking. Die, die, die. The demon's huge tail whipped, and the silver-haired old man resisted calmly. From the perspective of strength alone, the demon's strength was a few points higher than the old man, but the old man's understanding and control of the sword had reached a certain level, and the two were almost evenly matched. Yunfan was shocked when he saw the silver-haired old man's moves, because the moves used by the old man were somewhat similar to the moves of the demon sealing sword technique he used. Crazy evil spirits filled the air, and the temperature dropped sharply. Yunfan shuddered involuntarily. "Who are you? Why do you use that guy's moves?" The demon's eyes were filled with a trace of vigilance and a trace of anger. The evil spirits filled the air, and the surrounding creatures were eroded and died one by one, and the surrounding plants also withered. Jones Houston, the 85th generation descendant of the sword god. The silver-haired old man said expressionlessly. "Today is such a good day. Not only did I meet that bastard's representative in the mortal world, but I also met his direct descendant. I didn't know how to find you, but I didn't expect you to come to me." The devil laughed wantonly. "Sword God's representative in the mortal world?" The silver-haired old man's eyes fell on Ji Yunfan involuntarily, and finally fell on the Daoluo sword in Ji Yunfan's hand. The expression on his face changed slightly. "Excalibur Daoluo. Is the heavy sword in this little brother's hand the sword of my ancestors, Daoluo? No, no. It is said that the Daoluo sword should be a top-grade artifact, and although this sword is very good, it has just entered the threshold of artifacts." Ji Yunfan was a little embarrassed and didn't know how to answer. He was now a fake and a real person. He was just lucky to get Daoluo. Now is not the time for you to reminisce about the past. You guys go to hell." The devil flapped his blood-colored bone wings and rushed towards the silver-haired old man frantically. The unity of man and sword. The silver-haired old man followed closely, but the demon could not hit him no matter what. The silver-haired old man dodged casually like a leaf in the wind and rain. "You have reached the state of unity of man and sword." The fierce demon finally confirmed that the direct descendant of his enemy had reached the state of unity of man and sword, which was a state that even he, a god, had never reached. Damn it. The demon knew that he could not kill this human in a short time. Sword. A huge golden sword light came. The demon swept his claws to meet the golden sword light, but he didn't care. "You, a young man, want to hurt me?" If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318, 9 Revolutions. Demon Slayer. Puff. Black blood flew everywhere, and the blood dripped onto the ground with a hissing sound, and the ground was corroded rapidly. The thick left claw was chopped into a deep wound. How could it be so powerful? The demon was shocked. The demon sealing sword 9 turns Demon Slayer. Let you live for now. The demon glanced at the silver-haired old man and Ji Yunfan unwillingly, and then shook his wings and flew away. "Beast, I met your clone, and you still want to escape again?" The silver-haired old man roared deafeningly. The silver-haired old man had seen the identity of this demon from the family's cliques, and the reason why his sword god family stayed here was to guard the seal that imprisoned the demon. The silver-haired old man jumped lightly, turned into a flurry of tassels, and chased after the demon directly. "Damn sword god's direct descendant, are you still going to kill us all?" The demon roared loudly while running away, as if he wanted to vent all the unhappiness in his heart. "If I don't kill you today, you will definitely slaughter the continent in the future." The silver-haired old man was not moved at all, and swung the magic sword in his hand, almost every week with the force of thunder. The demon felt that her soul power had been consumed a lot. If she stood still, this clone might be killed by the old man in front of her, so she no longer neglected it, waving her blood-colored bone wings, and disappearing in the sky in an instant. The silver-haired old man looked at the demon disappearing in the sky, and couldn't help but sigh. The speed of this demon was much faster than his speed. Even if he tried his best, he couldn't catch up with this demon. The continent is probably about to fall into turmoil. It seems that the prophecy of our ancestors will soon come true. I don't know whether it is a blessing or a curse. The silver-haired old man turned his head and looked at Ji Yunfan with a scrutinizing look. "This little brother, are you really the spokesperson of our ancestors in the world?" "Senior, I'm just a fox borrowing the power of the tiger. How could I be the spokesperson of the sword god in the world?" Ji Yunfan smiled bitterly, who knew that the fox borrowing the power of the tiger did not borrow the power, but angered the demon. The original body of the demon was a disaster to the continent, and was sealed by my ancestors, so he hates everyone related to the ancestors. The silver-haired old man smiled and explained. "From the conversation just now, I have some guesses." Ji Yunfan responded. "By the way, why is the heavy sword in your hand so similar to the sword Daoluo of my ancestors?" The silver-haired old man nodded slightly, and his eyes once again cast on the heavy sword Daoluo in Ji Yunfan's hand. "This sword is indeed the sword that senior sword god used to wear, but it was badly damaged when I encountered it. Later, I asked senior dwarf to help me repair this sword, but senior dwarf said that if you want to completely repair this sword, you still need a lot of god level materials. Yunfan explained. You actually have a dwarf friend around you who can repair this Daluo sword? It can be seen that your dwarf friend's forging skills are not low. The silver-haired old man was slightly surprised. Senior, let's continue chatting later. I need to rescue my friends as soon as possible. Yunfan suddenly thought of something and said to the silver-haired old man, in this case, let me go with you. I still have a lot of questions I want to ask you. The silver-haired old man nodded slightly in response. Yunfan led the silver-haired old man towards the dark elf's nest. The dark elves in the nest had already fled without a trace when they saw their leader was defeated and the entire nest was empty. Yunfan followed the instructions of his shadow demon and soon came to the place where the dwarves were imprisoned. Father Zenite, how are you? Yunfan asked loudly outside the fence. My friend, Viscount Dante, you should leave here quickly and don't be caught by these dark elves. Father Zenite hurriedly said to Yunfan. Father, don't worry, I have already dealt with these dark elves. Yunfan said while using the magic sword in his hand to go to the fence, and the wooden fence was instantly chopped to pieces. Yunfan took a big step and walked to the side of the dwarves and quickly untied the ropes tied to the dwarves. Viscount Dante, this time it's really a big deal. The demon that was sealed by the sword god back then actually split a clone and escaped from the seal. If he finds the descendants of the sword god and gets the blood of the descendants of the sword god, he can release its body from the seal. Father Zenite said in a panic. Dad, where did you get this information? Yunfan asked curiously. Viscount Dante, there is one thing I have never told you. My ancestor was once a famous forging god on the continent. He was the best friend of the god of sword and god of war. Their weapons were forged by my ancestor. They entered the divine realm together. My ancestor also participated in sealing the demon. The reason why the demon's clone wanted to capture us was to get our blood. So as long as we find the descendants of the god of sword and get his blood, we can release the original body from the seal. Father Zenite explained. Dad Zenite, I really didn't expect that you, a dwarf, have such an origin. Yunfan couldn't help but exclaimed. Isn't this too incredible? The god of forging, the god of war and the god of sword, they are actually friends? Sakuden was also full of surprise. Are you descendants of the god of forging? After hearing what his father said, the silver-haired old man looked at these dwarves with curiosity. Who are you? Father Zenite looked at the silver-haired old man with a wary face. Although the silver-haired old man gave him the feeling of an ordinary old man, there was always a voice in his heart telling him that the old man in front of him was very dangerous. This senior is the descendant of the sword god you mentioned, and it was with the help of this senior that the demon's clone was driven away just now. Yunfan explained. You can actually beat the demon's clone. Father Zenite looked at the old man in front of him in disbelief and exclaimed, because he knew the strength of the demon's clone very well. He knew that, although that guy was just a clone, his real strength had reached the peak of the saint level. Then he looked at the silver-haired old man with envy. Sure enough, you are the descendant of the most powerful sword god back then. We can't compare with you at all. Your current strength should have reached the 10th level, right? I occasionally gained something some time ago, and I just entered the 10th level not long ago. The silver-haired old man said modestly. Chapter 319 Complex Relationship. Having entered the 10th level, you have already entered the ranks of the strongest on the continent. You are not like me, a waste who can't even protect my own people. Father Zenite said helplessly. You dwarves are not a fighting race. The art of forging is your foundation. I can't catch up with your forging skills, even if I try my best. The silver-haired old man shook his head slightly. The forging skills passed down by our ancestors have long been lost by us. Even the forging hammer left by our ancestors is missing. Father Zenite's expression became even more lonely. Yunfan originally thought that the silver-haired old man would ask him for the divine sword Daluo, but unexpectedly, the old man just arranged for him to protect the divine sword well, and did not ask him for it. The silver-haired old man, the descendant of the sword god, followed Yunfan and others to Grom on the west coast. He was very curious about the buildings in the city. Finally, he decided to live in the city for a while. From then on, Grom on the west coast welcomed its first god-level strongman. It has been a while since Jekasberu rebelled against the Western Legion. Yunfan originally thought that guy would come to cause trouble for him, but after waiting for more than a month, there was no movement. During this period, the military has completed the design of the magic cannon and even produced 2 magic cannons. After Yunfan secretly tested the magic cannon, he found that one shot actually had the power of 8th level magic. This kind of power of magic is already considered a small forbidden spell, so he did not want to show these magic cannons easily. On this day, Yunfan, as usual, led the soldiers to conduct exercises. A soldier from the Western Legion hurried over. "Sir, the Ouroboros Empire has issued a declaration of war to the Empire. I'm afraid that the Ouroboros Empire's army will soon attack. The Legion commander asked me to tell you." The soldier said. "Could it be that their target is Grom City on the west bank?" Yunfan frowned involuntarily. "What secrets are there here?" "General, the commander asked me to tell you. If Grom City on the west bank is really attacked by the army, you should abandon the city and go find him." The soldier continued. "It's all very simple. I don't know how much effort I have put into Grom City on the west bank. What's more, I have many secret weapons here. It's not that easy to take down Grom City on the west bank." Yunfan didn't tell him about the god level and saint level masters. "Since I have brought the news, General, I won't stay here." The soldier saluted Yunfan and said, "I already know about this matter, you can go back and report." A month later, the army of the Ouroboros Empire really came over, and the war between the 2 empires broke out completely. The flames of war spread to the entire border area, and Yunfan's Grom City on the west bank really became the focus of the other side as the commander of the Western Legion had expected. During this month, Yunfan and his soldiers set up all kinds of traps and magic mines outside the West Bank Grom City. The 100,000-man army of the Ouroboros Empire surrounded the West Bank Grom City. Before they reached the city wall, more than half of them were killed or injured by the various traps and mines. The general responsible for attacking the West Bank Grom City had to give up the attack. Every resident of the West Bank Grom City was filled with joy. They originally thought that they were doomed, but no one expected such a result. The 4 corps of the East, West, South, and North fought together, but the effect was not ideal. The Southern Corps and the Northern Corps of the 4 corps were defeated, and only the Western Corps could compete with their large forces. What made the top leaders of the Imperial Army most headache was that many generals in each corps were spies sent by the Ouroboros Empire to infiltrate the meeting hall of the Imperial Palace. "Tell me what is going on. There are so many people sent by the Ouroboros Empire, and they have become the top leaders of the empire. Now, among the 4 major legions, except for the Western Legion, the other 3 legions are in chaos. When the Western Legion happened, didn't I tell you that each legion should investigate it carefully? Now you actually give me such an explanation." None of the other ministers in the meeting hall dared to speak. Obviously they didn't know how to solve this matter. The 4 major legions of the empire were in chaos, and people in various cities in the empire were also panicking. "Your Majesty, wasn't there a Viscount Dante who solved the matter of the Western Legion? I think this matter should be solved by him." Just when everyone was at a loss, the patriarch of the Stephen family suddenly suggested. Everyone, including the Emperor of the Nigel Empire, Ken Archer, couldn't help but look at the patriarch of the Stephen family with deep meaning. Almost everyone present knew about the bad fate between Dante and the Stephen family, and now the patriarch of the Stephen family actually recommended Yunfan, which was full of weirdness. They began to guess what the patriarch of the Stephen family meant. The Emperor of the Nigel Empire, Ken Archer, looked at everyone with a complicated expression. How could he not guess what the patriarch of the Stephen family meant? He wanted to use a strategy of borrowing a knife to kill someone, but this strategy was still an open conspiracy. The relationship in the 4 legions was complicated and divided into many factions. If Yunfan governed the 4 legions, it would be like a duckweed without a foundation, and he would inevitably be blocked by many people. And now he has no good way. If he wants to solve the problem in front of him, he must borrow Yunfan's special ability, which seems to be trapped in a dead cycle. "I didn't expect that I would put all my hopes on this kid now." Ken Archer couldn't help shaking his head, smiling bitterly in his heart. "There are so many talented people in my empire. Can't I find someone who can share my worries? Ken Archer asked loudly. Some of the ministers present looked ashamed, while others did not care at all. To them, the emperor of the empire could be anyone. If things developed to an irreversible point, they would choose to surrender to the Oroba Empire, and the Oroba Empire would not kill them all. They were just nobles of the Nigel Empire who became nobles of the Oroba Empire. Otherwise, we will make a request to the Holy See. Chapter 320 Messenger. Your Majesty, this is absolutely not allowed. Once the Holy See intervenes in this matter, the consequences will be disastrous. Neither this nor that will work. Do you really want me to pin all my hopes on a small viscount? Ken Archer's emotions were already a little manic at the moment. He was now in trouble both internally and externally. There was the invasion of the Reborn Empire outside, and the control of the nobles within the empire. Moreover, he did not think that Yunfan was capable of solving everything. Yunfan naturally did not know how important he was in Ken Archer's heart now. Sir Viscount, there is an envoy from Argamon City asking for an audience. A soldier dressed as a palace soldier reported. An envoy sent from Argamon? Yunfan thought for a moment and said, bring the envoy up. After a while, the palace soldier walked in with a dusty guy. Who are you? Greetings, Lord Viscount Dante. I'm a guest of the Agamemnon Castle. I'm here to ask for help from the Lord Viscount on behalf of the Lord Viscount. The man said in a panic. Ask me for help? Yunfan was a little surprised. Doesn't the Empire still have 4 major legions? Why are you asking me for help? Among the 4 major legions of the Empire, except for the Western Legion, the other 3 legions are in chaos. The man hesitated for a moment and said, and it is said that many of the high-ranking officials of the 3 legions were sent by the Reborn Empire. The people of the Reborn Empire are really omnipresent. Yunfan couldn't help but sigh. It has long been spread in our empire that the Viscount city is impregnable, and the 100,000-man army of the Orobold Empire was lost here. The man hurriedly continued. This probably only means that my city is impregnable. I'm afraid that I'm still a little powerless to send soldiers to rescue. Yunfan nodded slightly and said, my Lord Viscount, you are now the only hope for our Argamon city. If you don't send troops, Argamon city will really be finished. The man knelt down on the ground when he saw that Yunfan did not agree to his request. Seeing the other party kneeling down, Yunfan was indeed a little hesitant. To be honest, he really wanted to help Argamon city, but he really had too little time to develop, and his military force was very limited. In addition, the encounter battle was different from the defensive battle, so Yunfan was not very sure that he could defeat the army of the Oroba Empire. My Lord Viscount, please, if you don't send troops, Argamon city will really be finished. The man hugged Yunfan's thigh and cried, I must think about this matter carefully. Even if I go to rescue, I can't spare too many troops. Yunfan said, while helping the man up. Thank you, Lord Viscount. As long as Lord Viscount agrees to send troops, the crisis of Argamon city will definitely be resolved. The man said emotionally. Yunfan frowned deeply. To be honest, it was very difficult for him to allocate some troops. So Yunfan gathered the palace soldiers and selected only 1,000 of them as support forces, and he led the team personally. There is a saying on Earth that speed is the most important thing for soldiers. Yunfan led this carefully selected team and set off. When the team walked out of dozens of miles, Yunfan suddenly ordered the team to stop. Yunfan looked straight ahead and shouted coldly, since you are here, come out. Why hide? As soon as Yunfan finished speaking, thousands of soldiers came out of the woods and surrounded the palace soldiers brought by Yunfan. This group of soldiers was led by 2 people. Yunfan could feel that one of them was a 6th level master and the other was a 5th level master. As for the soldiers behind, there were 100 4th level soldiers and more than 200 3rd level soldiers, but all of them were entry level soldiers. What you said is indeed true. I didn't believe it at first, but now it seems that I underestimated you. I didn't expect your soul perception to be so sharp that you could actually detect where we are. The 5th level master snorted coldly. It seems that this so-called request for help from me is not true. Yunfan looked at the team that was besieging them and saw that the person who asked him for help was standing next to the 5th level master. It's true that they asked for help, but the people they sent are my people," the 5th level master explained. Ji Yunfan smiled faintly and said, "Do you think I haven't discovered his identity? Haven't you ever doubted his identity?" The shoulders of the 5th rank master trembled slightly. He obviously didn't expect that Ji Yunfan would be so calm. Was he pretending to be so calm, or was it all his trick? But he soon realized, and his face became ferocious. "Even if you expected it, what can you do? What do you think you can do with your 1000 troops? It seems that you really don't understand me. Explain to the guy over there what I can do with 1000 troops." Ji Yunfan cast his eyes on the helper next to the 5th rank master. "How do I know what you can do with 1000 troops?" The guy who came to deliver the help message felt an inexplicable uneasiness in his heart. "Well, I'll tell you now. What can my 1000 troops do?" Ji Yunfan raised the corner of his mouth slightly, revealing a mocking smile. "Magic guns ready. Free fire." As soon as Ji Yunfan finished speaking, the 1000 soldiers behind him all pulled out their magic guns from their waists and fired at the army. Magic bullets of various attributes were fired from the magic gun chambers. Even the 6th level master standing at the front of the team was terrified. Although he had heard about the power of the magic gun invented by Ji Yunfan, when he faced it in person, he found that those people seemed to underestimate the power of the magic gun. You have to know that each magic bullet is equivalent to a 4th level magic. This magic frequency is like raindrops. Even he has a hard time resisting it, and the soldiers behind him are even worse. In a blink of an eye, more than 100 people were killed or injured. "Asshole, if you have the ability, don't use such a despicable weapon." The 6th level master looked at his men falling to the ground one by one, and he was extremely manic in his heart, and shouted loudly, "Naive. On the battlefield, it's either you die or I die. Do I really want to give up my advantage and fight you head on? You should know that your current military strength is several times that of mine." Ji Yunfan said lightly. Chapter 321 Fierce Battle. "Damn you, I will make your life worse than death." The 6th rank warrior waved his weapon, resisted the magic bullets flying on him, and walked towards Ji Yunfan step by step. "Boy, your magic bullets have no effect on me. Just surrender and there is still a glimmer of hope. Otherwise, all of you will die." The 6th rank warrior looked cold and snorted. Ji Yunfan suddenly stepped forward and shouted at the 6th rank warrior, "How big a storm can you make by yourself? Wait a minute, all your people will die. Facing the attack of so many of us, I hope you can still say such words." Hearing Ji Yunfan's words, the 6th rank warrior's eyes suddenly stagnated, and he looked at Ji Yunfan stupidly, because he knew very well that what Ji Yunfan said might really happen in a while. Although he might kill a few palace soldiers in the chaos, his ending would be very tragic. "Damn it, let's retreat." The 6th level master was also a man of swift action. He knew that if he didn't let his men retreat, the whole army might be wiped out. After hearing the words of the 6th level master, the men of the 6th level master, one by one, as if they had granted amnesty to the world, wished they had grown another pair of legs, and fled in the direction they came from. "Don't you think it's too late to escape now? Hit me hard." Ji Yunfan ordered viciously. After hearing Ji Yunfan's order, the soldiers under Ji Yunfan's command were like chicken blood. They pulled the trigger frantically, and magic bullets shot out of their gun barrels. Because they didn't care about defending against these magic bullets, the soldiers who surrounded Ji Yunfan and his men suffered heavy casualties in a short time. "Damn it, how could this happen? There are many more things you didn't expect," Ji Yunfan said expressionlessly and ruthlessly. One by one, the soldiers screamed miserably. Each bullet was equivalent to a low-level 4th level magic, and the situation became one-sided. As the saying goes, to catch a thief, you must first catch the leader. In that case, I will kill you first. The 6th rank strongman already knew that he had no choice but to kill Ji Yunfan to have a chance of survival. The 6th rank strongman leaped up, holding a long sword, and suddenly rushed towards Ji Yunfan. While running forward, his body kept changing its position to avoid the magic bullets that passed by. The speed of the 6th rank strongman's sword was too fast, causing bursts of air explosions in the air, and he slashed towards Ji Yunfan. Just in time. I was waiting for you. Yunfan looked calm and instantly took out the divine sword Daoluo from the space ring. His momentum was not weak at all. He roared, waved Daoluo and slashed at the 6th rank strongman. Feeling the whistling energy, the 6th rank strongman's face changed. The two swords collided with each other, and a powerful energy swept out, causing the people around them to step back several steps. However, the 6th rank expert looked at Yunfan in disbelief, because the 6th rank sword in his hand, which he had obtained with great difficulty, was cut into two pieces at the moment of impact. Everything happened too fast. The subordinates of the 6th rank expert were all stunned, and even forgot to escape for a moment. Because of this momentary flaw, Yunfan's subordinates directly harvested hundreds of lives. Damn it, how could you have such a magic weapon? I heard the 6th rank expert roaring loudly with jealousy. I bought this weapon on the street. Yunfan said lightly. I bought it. I spent my life savings for a 6th rank weapon, and you actually said that you bought it on the street. Anger filled the heart of the 6th rank expert. At the same time, he did not expect that Yunfan's strength was so strong, but it was impossible to take my life like this. The 6th rank expert roared to the sky and wanted to go into the white blade with bare hands. Haha, someone actually wants to use his body to receive the magic sword. Yunfan couldn't help but reveal a trace of mockery in his smile. Yunfan slashed backhand, and a green sword blade appeared out of thin air, slashing towards the left arm of the 6th rank master. The magic sword technique. The green sword blade drew a gorgeous curve in the air. A terrifying force swept out. Feeling this unmatched power, the face of the 6th rank master turned pale. Even though his strength was one level higher than Yunfan, when facing the magic sword technique and the magic sword Daoluo, the powerful blow directly cut off his left arm. He vomited blood with a wow sound. The powerful force made him fly back hundreds of meters and fell heavily to the ground, as if he was already dying. Seeing this scene, the surviving soldiers felt their scalps tingling. What kind of evildoer were they dealing with? They had originally laid out many spies and tracked down the trail of Yunfan's team. They thought that with their troops, it would be easy to kill Yunfan and his men, but things always develop in an unpredictable direction. The combat effectiveness of these 1,000 people is too strong. It is said that the damage caused by this attack to the 6th level master is too great. If he was not so arrogant and wanted to fight barehanded, he would never lose so badly, but it was too late. He knew that he was powerless now. Originally, he was going to capture the king first, but who knew that in the end he would help Yunfan. Seeing the dying legion commander, the remaining soldiers no longer had any faith to fight on. The only 5th level master couldn't help but twitch his eyes. He didn't expect that his boss would lose so thoroughly. Those who surrender will not be killed. Yunfan used all the fighting spirit in his body and shouted loudly. Then the soldiers around Yunfan also shouted one by one. Those who surrender will not be killed. Those who surrender will not be killed. Many soldiers were already tempted at this moment. Their army commander was now in danger of death. They felt that they could not see any hope. Instead of being killed, they might as well live in disgrace. We surrender. We are willing to surrender. Deputy Army Commander, what do you think? Yunfan cast his eyes on the only remaining 5th level master. Do you think I have any choice? The 5th level master showed a helpless smile on his face. My family is still in the Liber Empire. If I choose to surrender, the 5th level master did not finish his words and directly rushed towards Yunfan with a long sword in hand. Chapter 322 Arrival. When he thought of the result of not completing the task, the heart of the only remaining 5th level master deputy legion commander fell into the freezing point. I have no choice but to fight. The 5th level master roared, waving the long sword in his hand desperately, as if he wanted to create a miracle, but all of this seemed to be in vain. Yunfan was faster than him. With a bang, Yunfan punched his abdomen. The 5th level deputy legion commander immediately covered his stomach and retched, almost vomiting his internal organs. This 5th level master has a high status in his legion, but after all, he is just a deputy legion commander in charge of affairs. He is not good at fighting at all. His own strength level is the same as Yunfan, but the real strength is too far apart. Let me go. If you dare to harm me, our horrible empire will never forgive you. The 5th level Deputy Legion Commander kept struggling. As a Deputy Legion Commander, the Legion Commander had to give him some face. He had never suffered such humiliation. You idiot, you're acting like, if we let you go, the Ouroboros Empire will spare us, and not attack us. Besides, it was you who used conspiracy and trickery to kill us. If you dare to make a noise again, I'll bury you on the spot. A palace soldier beside Yunfan threatened in a bad tone. Hearing the words of the palace soldier, the 5th level master immediately fell silent, and he had already made up his mind that he would stay in prison honestly, and he would not answer anything Yunfan and others asked him. This guy is quite afraid of death, sir. Don't you think this is a wise man who knows the times? The palace soldier smiled at Yunfan half jokingly. Yunfan shook his head slightly and said, he knows it very well. It's not good for him to say too much. After cleaning up the battlefield, a palace soldier came to Yunfan and said to him worriedly, Sir Viscount, how should we deal with these guys? We have to hurry up. If they have reinforcement, our situation will be very passive. Now, I still say that those who surrender will not be killed. Yunfan suddenly used all the fighting spirit in his body and said loudly, but seeing that these captured soldiers seemed unmoved, Yunfan shook his head and said, forget it. Capture the living first. Sir Viscount, should we go back to the palace? Asked the palace soldier. Didn't you hear what they said just now? Argamon City is indeed in trouble, and ask me for help. We will push these people to Argamon City. Maybe we can find a way to save Argamon City from these people. Yunfan said. Yunfan's opinion was not without basis. From the conversation between the two just now, he knew that the identity of the guy he caught should be extraordinary. He might not be just the deputy commander of the Legion. Yunfan led the palace soldiers to escort the captured soldiers to Argamon City again. After a day of continuous travel, Yunfan and his palace soldiers arrived at the gate of Argamon City. At this time, Argamon City was no longer as prosperous as before. The number of soldiers guarding the city gate had obviously increased several times. In the past, they only needed to pay some fees to enter the city, but now they also needed to verify their identities. Seeing Yunfan and his palace soldiers, the soldiers guarding the city gate were all very nervous, fearing that they were sent by the enemy to attack Argamon City. Who are you? Where are you from? The soldier guarding the city asked nervously. I'm a palace soldier from Viscount Dante's family. Our lord is here to support your Argamon City. A captain of the palace soldiers beside Yunfan hurriedly said. Are you from Grom City on the west coast? Can you prove your identity? The soldiers guarding the city were still a little bit unwilling to give in. The captain of the palace soldiers next to Yunfan was a little unhappy. He followed the adults and went through so much trouble to help them, but they didn't appreciate it and even doubted their identities. The captain of the palace soldiers was about to say something else when he was interrupted by Yunfan. I'm Dante. This is my identity token in the Western Army. Yunfan said and took out his token in the Western Army. As a soldier of Argamon City, he was naturally not a palace soldier who changed his job halfway under Yunfan, and he was very familiar with the identity tokens of the Western Army. He recognized Yunfan's identity token at a glance, and he hurriedly led people to Yunfan's side, respectfully saluted Yunfan, and then explained, please forgive me, Lord Viscount Dante, mainly because the situation is very critical now, and there will be soldiers attacking the city in the next 2 days, disguised as other nobles. My lord, this is. The leader of the soldiers in Argamon City saw the 500 people escorted by Yunfan and asked. We were ambushed on the way to Argamon City. These people are our prisoners. Go and inform Earl Argamon and ask him to put these people in prison and interrogate them. Who knows, we may be able to get some useful information from them. Yunfan explained. Someone actually went to stop the Viscount? The soldier leader of Argamon City was a little surprised. How did they know that the Viscount was here to support Argamon City? Because the people you sent out to request support were undercover agents sent by the enemy. Yunfan said expressionlessly. What? This, I must report this to the Earl immediately. The soldier leader of Argamon City looked very ugly. At the same time, the invasion army of the Ouroboros Empire was stationed. This bunch of rubbish, so many people, can't even handle 1,000 people. A man in black sat on a high chair. With a bang, the armrest of the chair was crushed by him, which showed his anger at this time. Emissary, spare us. We never expected that Dante's 1000 troops would have such a strong fighting force. Several people kowtowed to the man in black. The man in black had a gloomy face. This situation was indeed unexpected even to him. Who would have thought that with several times more troops than the other side, he would still fail? It can be seen that the other side is still very resourceful. What made the man in black most angry was that Yunfan and others actually captured the deputy commander of the army. Although that guy was the deputy commander of the army on the surface, he had a deeper identity. Because of that special identity, that guy knew a lot of things he shouldn't know. The man in black would rather Yunfan and others killed all these people ruthlessly. It was nothing. The loss was nothing to him, but Yunfan captured him. I hope that guy can keep his mouth shut, otherwise it may ruin my big plan. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the man in black. Chapter 323 Betrayal. The narrowed eyes of the man in black were full of viciousness. Or thorn in the flesh like Yunfan must be cut off. The existence of this guy has seriously affected his plan. Did this guy really climb up step by step from a slave servant as the news said? Are you forcing me to kill you? Do you really think that I can't do anything to you if you ruin my good deeds? Then you are underestimating my holy church too much. A trace of cold light flashed in the eyes of the man in black. If he didn't get rid of Yunfan, it would be difficult to relieve his hatred. Find out where Truman is imprisoned, and find out the background and origins of all those who have had intersections with Dante. This world is not a kid without a foundation, like you can play around. Ignore my holy church and ruin my good deeds. Send a message to the Killer Association. Anyone with Dante who leaves their territory will be killed. The deep eyes of the man in black revealed a cold murderous intent. The people kneeling in front of the man in black were trembling, and dared not say a word, but just nodded. Suddenly thinking of something, the man in black said in a deep voice, "Go and ask the general and the prince to come over." Yes, the Orebar Empire actually sent its general and prince. If other people knew about this, they would be shocked. It seems that the man in black has made up his mind. What he was looking for before was just a small army. The man in black dare not underestimate Yunfan now. At this time, in the mansion of Count Argamon in Argamon City, Count Argamon looked at Yunfan in disbelief and said, "Brother Dante, you mean that the person I sent out to ask you for help is an undercover sent by the Orebar Empire?" "Yes." Yunfan nodded silently and said, "How could this be? I trusted Sakari so much. If this is the case, I must dig out his heart to see whether it is black or white. But before that, I have to pry open his mouth to see what the Orebar Empire is planning to do." Count Agamemnon's face was full of frost. "You know, this is related to his life and death. Once a person like this rebels, it will be more dangerous, because he knows a lot of his secrets. If anyone dares to betray the city of Agamemnon, and threatens his safety and status, he must be killed, even if he has to use all the power of the entire city." "Viscount Dante, I heard that you have a powerful weapon in your hand, called a magic gun. I wonder if Viscount Dante can sell me some." Count Agamemnon thought of the legend about Yunfan and asked, "I'm sorry, Lord Earl, I have a limited number of magic guns in my hand now. When I have the ability one day, I will definitely give priority to you." Yunfan declined tactfully. Now he was in a precarious situation. He didn't want to be taken advantage of by others and hit him with magic guns because of his momentary behavior. At that time, his advantage would be much less. Is that so? That's a pity. Although Count Argamon had already guessed Yunfan's answer, he was still a little disappointed after hearing Yunfan's answer. "In that case, Viscount Dante, why don't you come with me to see what tricks those guys can play? People who can become self-aware naturally cannot be drunkards." Count Argamon came out of his excitement. In the Argamon prison, Count Argamon did not take Yunfan to interrogate the deputy legion commander, but came to the guy who delivered the rescue information. "Sakari, I never thought that we would meet like this one day. I think I have treated you well. Why did you betray me?" Count Argamon said in a cold tone. "Count Argamon, I know you think highly of me, but there are some things I have to do," the guy called Sakari said with a trace of guilt. "Tell me a reason." Because I'm a citizen of the Oroba Empire, I came to Argument City just to collect intelligence. The guy called Sakari said slowly. What information have you passed on to the Oroba Empire over the years? Count Argument asked indifferently. All the information I know has been passed on. Very good. You are very good. Count Argument's face was a little ferocious, but he soon came out of his violent emotions. Now I give you a chance. Tell me all the news you know about the Oroba Empire, and I can let you go. Let me go. So I have to thank you, Lord Earl, but Lord Earl, I don't need it. Sakari's eyes suddenly flashed with a ray of determination. Are you really not going to tell me? After all these years, you should know my character. Count Argument said coldly. My lord, even if you kill me, I won't tell you. Don't bother trying to get any useful information from me. You don't need to make a decision so quickly. I can give you some time to think about it. Tell me when you have thought it through. Count Argument took a deep breath and walked out of the prison. Yunfan also followed Count Argument out of the prison. Are you curious about why I came to see Sakari? Count Argument glanced at him with the corner of his eyes, and Yunfan said, do you think I'm not decisive enough? I'm indeed a little curious, but if you don't want to talk about it, then don't talk about it. Sakari and I grew up together, just like brothers. We used to go on adventures together, but we once chased the same girl. Later, I inherited my father's title and became the Earl of Argument City. I have always regarded him as my brother, so after I became the Earl, I asked him to come and help me. Count Argument slowly told everything about him and Sakari, and then smiled bitterly, but I never thought that he was actually someone from the Oroba Empire. Tell me what I should do. I can't make decisions for you, Lord Earl. Everything still needs to be decided by you, Lord Earl. Yunfan shook his head slightly. He has encountered a lot of fratricide in recent times. Forget it. Let's not talk about this for now. Let him fend for himself in prison. Count Argument said faintly. Since the Earl has already thought of the answer, then do it according to your heart. Yunfan also sighed. Yunfan hated this kind of intrigue and deception very much, but he also knew that this kind of thing was unavoidable. Chapter 324 Killer Association Branch. There is a saying on Earth that where there are people, there are rivers and lakes, and where there are rivers and lakes, there are disputes. From the perspective of an observer, neither of them is wrong, they just serve different masters. Yunfan didn't know much about the interrogation. Even a genius like him couldn't be omniscient, not to mention that he didn't like the atmosphere of the interrogation at all. Yunfan didn't go to other prisoners with Count Agamemnon, so Yunfan said goodbye to Count Agamemnon and came to the guest room prepared for him, thinking about how to improve the magic gun. The performance of the magic gun has been greatly improved compared to the high-level design, but Yunfan is still very dissatisfied. The pause time between each shot is a bit long. He disassembled and reorganized the magic circle he designed again, looking for the best way to optimize it. Sakari couldn't help but admire Yunfan's every move. This kid's talent in magic runes is simply unparalleled. At this age, he can already design new magic runes. In the continent of gods, even ordinary gods find it difficult to do this. This thing involves the essence of the world. This guy is a freak. Yunfan naturally didn't know what Sakari was thinking. For every detail change, Yunfan made a series of calculations in his mind. Only when he was sure that there was no risk, he took action. 3 days after arriving in Argument City, Yunfan released his shadow demon every day to check the movements in Argument City. This was not because Yunfan liked to pry into other people's privacy, but since the last 2 traitors, Yunfan had to be on guard. Not to mention that he had found quite a few suspicious people in the past 3 days, ranging from high-ranking officials to ordinary people. However, what surprised him the most was that he actually found the location of the Killer Association branch in Argument City, and even posted his own bounty in the Killer Association. The amount alone had reached 22 million gold coins, which was much higher than the bounty of an ordinary 5th level master. Many killers were eager to make a move. Count Argument Yunfan said that he was going to take action, but he did not tell Count Argument what he was going to do. Yunfan went out with his palace soldiers. He came to a hotel called Solo and walked straight into the hotel. Hey, isn't this Lord Viscount Dante? What brought you here? A man dressed as a boss came out of the inner courtyard and greeted Ji Yunfan enthusiastically. "My dear boss, is it a surprise that I came to you?" Ji Yunfan said with a smile. "Aren't you going to look for me? I'm here now, just to save you the trouble." The boss dress man's face changed obviously, but soon returned to normal. That slight change happened to be captured by Ji Yunfan. "Sir, you must be joking. Why would an ordinary person like me go to see you? I can't see ordinary people." Ji Yunfan said with a meaningful smile. "Sir, you have something to say. By the way, I have something else to discuss with you, boss. I wonder if you would be so kind as to come with me," Ji Yunfan said in a flat tone. When the man heard Ji Yunfan's words, his face changed again. As a killer who often deals with death, he is more sensitive to danger than ordinary people. Otherwise, he would not have become the president of the Killer Association branch. What is going on? Did this guy find out my identity? Impossible. I, Serity, have never shown my true face to anyone. Even the people in the Assassins Association. No one has ever seen my true face. The man's heart was very complicated at the moment, and he was a little uneasy. He was now considering how to deal with the situation in front of him. It was absolutely impossible for him to go with Ji Yunfan. "My Lord Viscount, aren't you forcing me? You see, I'm still busy now." "It's okay, I will bear all the losses, just follow me now," Ji Yunfan said lightly. "Surround the entire hotel, and don't let anyone go." "My Lord Viscount, what do you want to do?" "My lord, the president of the Agamemnon City branch of the Assassins Association. It's already come to this. Are you still going to pretend?" Ji Yunfan said with a sneer. "Viscount Dante, I'm very curious, how did you find out my identity?" Serity knew that Ji Yunfan must have accurate information to prove his identity, otherwise he would not be so confident and come to attack him openly. It would be meaningless to argue further. He was very curious about how Ji Yunfan found out his identity. "Don't worry about how I found out your identity. Just follow me now." "Viscount Dante, I have heard of your name a long time ago. It is said that you are as wise as a demon and are also good at alchemy. When I met you today, I found that you have another characteristic, which is that you are very brave. What do you think our assassin association is?" Before the man finished speaking, he suddenly took a step and started to move his hands. The man's speed was very fast, like lightning, and he took out a dagger from somewhere. He stabbed Ji Yunfan directly. Ji Yunfan snorted coldly. Actually, he had been on guard since he entered the Assassin Association. Daoluo suddenly appeared in Ji Yunfan's left hand. Ji Yunfan infused the King Emperor's Dao Ki and used the Sealing Demon Sword technique to activate it. Daoluo's sword suddenly emitted a green divine light and blocked the sudden dagger. The sword and the dagger met in the air, and the powerful force rippled out. However, what surprised the president of the Assassin Association was that Ji Yunfan's Dao Ki was like a living thing, and it would bend forward. This was the result of Ji Yunfan's research during this period. The Dao Ki in the body was circulated like a whirlpool, and it would be released in battle to have this effect like a living thing. A fierce force mixed with fighting spirit hit the dagger of the president of the Killer Association like a hammer. The president of the Killer Association staggered back a few steps and looked at Ji Yunfan in disbelief. "What is your strength? And why is your fighting spirit so strange?" The president of the Killer Association looked at the dagger in his hand and found that there was a gap in the dagger in his hand. It seemed that it was cut by the heavy sword. The president of the Killer Association has the strength of a 6th level swordsman. In addition, he has practiced the ghostly and magical skills, and his strength is even more unfathomable. The dagger in his hand is also a magic dagger of excellent quality. I don't know how many weapons he has destroyed in the past. I didn't expect that this time it would capsize in the gutter. Chapter 325, Cutting Off. Capture all the people here and kill anyone who resists. As soon as Ji Yunfan finished speaking, all the soldiers he brought with him took out their magic guns. As a killer, he had already seen through life and death, but it was impossible for him not to resist. The soldiers Ji Yunfan brought with him were not as ignorant as they were at the beginning. Now they already knew the cruelty of this world. It was either you die or I die. They shot without hesitation like when they first started training. Killers have always been people who hide in the dark and deliver fatal blows. facing a head-on confrontation with real guns and live ammunition. They have no chance of winning at all. It is another one-sided situation. Soon, the people led by Ji Yunfan dealt with the people on the surface, but Ji Yunfan did not evacuate immediately. Instead, relying on the shadow demon, he closed his eyes and suddenly said, as the saying goes, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows, and the killer association also has underground passages. Team 1, surround this hotel for me, and Team 2, follow me. As he spoke, Ji Yunfan led his men towards a remote room. On the surface, the room looked shabby. It was a storage room for storing sundries, but in fact it contained a lot of secrets. Ji Yunfan quickly opened the door to the underground passage, but he did not let his men go in directly. Instead, he stood in front of the entrance of the passage and ordered his men, be careful when you get inside. At the left turn of the first passage, there are 3 killers stationed there. Among the 3 killers, there are 2 warriors and 1 mage. This mage is a high-level magician. Ji Yunfan's men are no longer surprised by the magic of their viscount. Since they joined the palace soldiers, they have not seen their viscount make any mistakes. Ji Yunfan's description was like being there in person. With his eyes closed, Ji Yunfan continued to describe the details. They quickly acted according to Ji Yunfan's instructions. The killers naturally didn't know that their every move was under Ji Yunfan's surveillance. The strength of this killer association was beyond Ji Yunfan's expectations. He took a deep breath, took out the Daoluo, and held it in his palm, and checked the whereabouts of the killers again. Only then did he let the soldiers around him follow him. Ji Yunfan stared at the left side with a solemn and calm face. Be careful, those killers have discovered our arrival. Ji Yunfan reminded, as if Ji Yunfan's words had come true. The killers actually rushed towards Ji Yunfan and his team at the same time. Until this time, the soldiers looked at Ji Yunfan, who was hiding in the dark, in horror. Although they believed in Ji Yunfan on the surface, they still had some doubts in their hearts. However, when these killers came over, the situation was exactly the same as what Ji Yunfan said. They never thought that their viscount was really so magical. At such a long distance, even turning a corner, not only can they detect the movements of people, but also like a god's perspective. They can also detect the movements of the enemy clearly. These killers are all experienced. After seeing Ji Yunfan's troops, they reacted quickly after a brief shock. They directly pulled the warning siren. The warning siren was very special. Except for those who have undergone special training, no one else can hear it. These killers naturally didn't know that their every move was under Ji Yunfan's surveillance. Then they lurked towards Ji Yunfan's team. It seemed that there were some big shots in the depths of the passage. They wanted to buy some time for these big shots. These killers naturally thought that their whereabouts had not been discovered. The first batch arrived at a place where they could control the overall situation and hid. Ji Yunfan asked his men to stay put until the dispatch was completed, and then he held his breath and concentrated his men to prepare to act. I didn't see how the killer magician moved. I only saw the man, who was completely covered in a black robe, chanting a few spells in an inaudible voice. Suddenly, a strong magic wave came from the place where Ji Yunfan was, and then it was like a big earthquake. Ji Yunfan knew that he couldn't wait any longer. The other party had already made a move. Ji Yunfan asked for the magic gun AK-47 and took it out. He pulled the trigger fiercely. The magic bullets like fire snakes shot out from the magic gun AK-47 and instantly shot the magician killer into a sieve. The killer magician looked at the direction of Ji Yunfan in disbelief when he was dying. At the same time, several warrior killers behind the killer magician also quickly dispersed. A killer holding a bow and arrow quickly retreated to a corner and poked his head out from the corner to carefully explore everything around him. Because they have been living in the dark underground for a long time, their eyesight is much better than that of ordinary people. Dang dang dang. The sound of magic gunfire suddenly appeared in the darkness, like a poisonous snake in a deep pool, rushing towards the assassin who was peeping out. The assassin holding a bow and arrow always thought that he was hiding very secretly, but he never expected that he would be attacked by a swift attack. Just after he poked his head out, he was shocked and waved his dagger to resist. Among them, Ali's magic bullet was blocked, but the other one was not so lucky. The magic bullet directly penetrated his forehead. No, these people have the ability of night vision. We have no advantage in the dark. Yunfan upgraded the magic gun of the palace soldiers once, that is, set the eagle eye magic on the magic gun. This magic is like infrared, which can see the enemy's movements in the middle of the night. Just now, 2 partners were hit in succession. The remaining killer quickly understood and suddenly shouted. The killer's eyes flashed with madness. He fumbled around a bit, took out a red magic scroll, tore open the seal on the scroll, and threw it directly at Yunfan and the others. A fire dragon suddenly appeared in front of everyone, ferociously heading towards Yunfan. Yunfan's face also changed slightly. Sealing demon sword technique, cut it in 2 with 1 stroke. Recently, Yunfan has been somewhat curious about the name of sealing demon sword technique. This is a world of magic, not a world of immortal heroes. Where did the name of sealing demon sword technique come from? Or maybe the name of this sword technique was just randomly given. Yunfan felt that things would not be that simple. At this critical moment, he finally figured it out. This sealing demon sword technique is used to seal magic, or to chop magic. This is the nemesis of magicians. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.